Chapter 484. The lights in the small factory lit up and shone on the second floor. In the corner, a man in a wheelchair was slowly being pushed out. There was a long scar on the man's face. It ran from his left eye all the way to his right cheek and chin. It could be said to be a ghastly sight. He didn't seem to be young. He had a head of white hair and there were some ugly age spots on his skin. This old man wasn't alone. There were 12 people standing behind him. Each of them wore a devil mask on their faces. They looked extremely ferocious, as if they had really crawled out of hell. All of them stared fiercely at Murong Ying and the others. "You're not from Huaxia." Murong Ying looked at the nagging old man on the second floor and directly asked, "Where did you come from? Why did you touch my people?" "Girl. I'm really sorry. You can call me Old Mo," the old man said with a chuckle. "You'll like this name, because I like it very much. However, I definitely won't be polite to those who trespass into my village." "What did you do to the two of them?" Murong Ying had a bad premonition. The old man clapped his hands, and a ghost-masked man immediately threw out 2 people. The 2 of them had already fainted, but all the bones in their bodies were broken. "They trespassed into my village, so I punished them." The old man's smile looked as if he was crying. This smile, coupled with his face, was as scary as it could be. "Girl, the few of you will also receive the same punishment," the old man said very rudely. "It seems that you really don't know anything." Li Fan sighed. "Wife, I don't care anymore. You do it yourself." Murong Ying had said that he and Subhuti were not to interfere. It just so happened that he also had an arm that he couldn't use, so he simply stood there and watched the show. Amid her, Subhuti chanted the name of Buddha. It was unknown if he was chanting it for Murong Ying or for the 13 unlucky ghosts. "These are the 12 evil spirits that I trained. Each of them has reached the peak of strength." The old man's face was full of confidence. "Any one of the 12 experts is enough to send you to heaven. Hiding in this Medicine King village, these 12 people are my last line of defense." Although he didn't know who this old man was, Li Fan felt that he might be in trouble today. Li Fan didn't interfere, but he was still curious. Before the 2 sides started fighting, Li Fan asked, "We're going to die today anyway. Why don't you let us die knowing? This little kid has some self-awareness." Old Mo nodded. "I appreciate smart people. What do you want to know? Ask away." Murong Ying understood Li Fan's intentions, so she didn't say anything. "Old mister, where are you from? Why did you choose to hide in this godforsaken Medicine King village?" "Me?" Old Mo's eyes seemed to be full of memories. Just now the girl said, "I'm not from Huaxia." He thought that since they were already dead, it would not hurt to talk to them about his own things. He had kept these things in his heart for so many years, so he had to tell them. He couldn't tell the living, but he could tell the dead. "I'm from Japan. My real name seems to be Ryuyama Koji." It seemed that it was too long ago that Old Mo forgot his original name. He murmured and continued, "I'm from Japan's Dongcheng Hui. At that time, we were defeated and everyone was retreating to our country. However, a group of men of sacrifice was left on the mainland to cultivate underground forces, waiting for the Mikado's army to set foot on this land again." Shit. Li Fan's heart skipped a beat. This old guy is actually a figure from World War II? This guy must be 70 or 80 years old. It seems that he ate a lot of exotic minerals and produce in the Medicine King village. This guy is really long-live. This is the fledgling plan left by our Dongcheng Hui. And many fledglings are left on the mainland, lurking among you. As long as these fledglings are here, the mainland will belong to us sooner or later. That's a good idea. The fascists have been destroyed long ago. Li Fan sneered. "You're really good at choosing a place to daydream in this deep mountain forest. I think you're not young anymore. Why don't you bury yourself early? What do you think? Kid, you're too naive." Old Mo gently knocked the ground with his walking stick. "We fledglings have grown into fuller feathered eagles. How can your current martial fighters compare to the eagles?" "Really?" Murong Ying had heard enough. She stepped forward and pointed at Old Mo on the second floor with 2 fingers. "Then let me see how powerful your so-called eagles are." "Well, the story is over. It's time for you to go to hell with my secret, Old Mo said and knocked the ground with his walking stick. A man with a ghost mask suddenly disappeared and then appeared behind Murong Ying in an instant with a dagger in his hand. It seemed that he was going to cut open Murong Ying's throat. Li Fan couldn't help exclaiming, "What a powerful assassination skill. This old Mo has trained 12 great killers. 12 killers at the peak of perfection. Gee, when did the peak of perfection become so worthless?" But Murong Ying put up 2 fingers and flicked on the dagger. Clang! The dagger was directly knocked off, and the sharp blade had curled. It could be seen how powerful the sword chi on Murong Ying's fingers was. "I'm really sorry. I, Murong Ying, will take the heads of your 12 evil ghosts." As Murong Ying said, her 2 fingers had been poked into the temples of the man with a ghost mask. Puff! The sword chi burst out from the other side of the man's head and minced his head into pieces. When Murong Ying unleashed her power, not everyone would be able to stop her. "Nani?" Old Mo said something rare in Japanese, while Murong Ying had jumped to the second floor with lightness skill. The rest of the evil ghosts were eager to protect their master, so they all rushed to Murong Ying. But Murong Ying was so powerful. She stepped on the railing of the second floor with her high heels, and her body was as steady as a mountain. Her 2 hands were like swords. Anyone who was half a meter away from her was beheaded by her without mercy. Barker. Old Mo knew that Murong Ying was not easy to deal with. He pointed at Li Fan and others with his walking stick. "Catch those people and force her to give in." As soon as he finished his words, 2 men with ghost masks appeared in front of Li Fan. Putty stood aside and didn't intend to take action at all. But Li Fan's face darkened. "Damn, are you bullying the disabled?" Chapter 485. Li Fan grabbed the face of a man with a ghost mask with his left hand. He used his tiger claws to break his mask and then his head. On the other side, the man with a ghost mask pulled out a small katana and stabbed at Li Fan's ribs. He was indeed a master at the peak of perfection, especially an assassin. His saber technique was very powerful. However, Li Fan just gave a muffled groan. The silver needle in his right arm immediately flew out and was nailed between the eyebrows of the man with a ghost mask. The man with a ghost mask fell to the ground and died. Neither of them could escape from Li Fan's hands alive. Li Fan had always been friendly to his international friends. But since they were here to make trouble, he would not be polite to them. "You snatched my kill," Murong Ying complained unhappily. "Fuck, miss, you have to collect the kill by yourself, okay? Humph, you also liked to snatch my kill when we were playing LOL in the past." Murong Ying recalled the past. "You also snatched my kill in reality. You're a competitive man." Li Fan suddenly did not know how to defend himself. Meanwhile, Murong Ying had killed the rest of the men with ghost masks. Seeing the 12 men of sacrifice whom he had trained painstakingly die in the blink of an eye, Old Mo's lips trembled. "No, it's impossible." Old Mo could not believe his eyes. He stared at Murong Ying and asked, Who on earth are you?" "I'm Murong Ying, the chief of Wulin." Murong Ying directly told him her name. She stretched out 2 fingers and pointed at Old Mo. "I can't pretend that I didn't hear what you said just now." "Impossible." Old Mo did not believe it. "How could the chief of Wulin be a little girl like you? Are you looking down on my age or my gender?" Murong Ying raised her eyebrows slightly. "Little girl, don't brag. Go to hell." As Old Mo spoke, another figure suddenly flew out from his back. This figure was very ghostly, like a phantom. In the blink of an eye, it appeared in front of Murong Ying. The figure had no hands. At the ends of its palms were 2 long swords. It slashed towards Murong Ying. He was so fast that even Murong Ying couldn't see him clearly. But for Murong Ying, she didn't need to see it clearly at all. Only the weakest martial artists needed to use their eyes to see. Murong Ying flicked the 2 swords away with 2 fingers. At the same time, Murong Ying lifted her leg and kicked the figure. Bang! This guy flew out, but as Old Mo pulled him back with both hands, he stabilized himself in the air. As the light shone on him, Murong Ying finally saw that he was not a human, but a puppet in disguise. The puppet seemed to be made in the shape of a woman. Between its legs, there was a sponge-like thing. Fuck, Li Fan saw everything clearly from below. This old fart took out his inflatable doll and used it as a weapon. Ha ha ha. It's time for you to die. After a moment of panic, old Mo seemed to be a little excited. You're the president of Wulin. That's great. After killing you, our fledgling plan will be one step closer to our goal. Old Mo was so happy that his hands seemed to be entangled with many transparent silk threads. Corpse stitching skill? This idea floated in Li Fan's mind. He swung his hands, and more silk threads flew out. The 12 ghost-masked men who were killed once again stood up coyly, bringing with them a very strange aura. Corpse stitching skill? Isn't this the lost kung fu of the devil cult? Murongying also recognized this kung fu. Ha ha ha. Yes, you're right. I didn't stay here for nothing. As old Mo spoke, he controlled the 12 men with ghost masks and the multi-purpose puppets he made, and they all pounced on Murongying. Amitabha. Do you need help, President? Putty asked with some concern, but Li Fan patted him on the shoulder. Dude, those who steal people's lives are all dogs. Huh. Putty obviously didn't understand, but Murongying had already launched another attack. As the president of Murong, she still stepped on the railing and opened her hands. From her palms, pieces of cherry blossom petals flew out, turning illusion into reality. What the? Old Mo was dumbfounded. The legendary martial arts realm was really used today? And it was a little girl. These cherry blossom petals directly penetrated the bodies of the men with ghost masks, tore them apart in the air, and cut off the silk threads that Old Mo used to control his puppets. Damn it, Old Mo couldn't sit still anymore, and the disgusting smile on his face disappeared. What's wrong? Don't you feel proud? Murongying looked down at Old Mo in the wheelchair. Damn it. How can you be so powerful? Old Mo looked a little dull. Has the martial arts of Huaxia surpassed so much? No, since you're the president of Wulin, you must be the most powerful in Huaxia. Sorry, I also want to be the most powerful in Huaxia. Murongying shrugged her shoulders. Unfortunately, there's always someone better than you. There are too many people who are more powerful than me in Huaxia. That's absolutely impossible. Old Mo didn't believe Murongying at all, and his eyes suddenly fell on Li Fan. That person is your man, right? I'd like to see whether you have the courage to kill your man. As Old Mo said, he suddenly ejected invisible silk threads, which instantly bound Li Fan. What? Li Fan was a little surprised to see that his hands didn't listen to him and moved twice. Ha ha ha. You're my puppet now. Damn it, how can I do that? Looking at Old Mo's complacent smile, Li Fan immediately curled his lips. I don't want to be your puppet. It's so disgusting. It's not up to you. Old Mo said arrogantly, my corpse stitching skill is unparalleled in the world. No matter how powerful you are, once you've been hit by this skill, you have to obey my orders obediently. As he said, Old Mo controlled Li Fan and made Li Fan jump up. Using lightness skill, he landed on the second floor and stood in front of his fiancée. Okay. Murongying didn't care. I'll chop off your head first, and then this Japanese old man. Damn it, calm down. I'm your fiancé. Li Fan broke out in a cold sweat, while Old Mo burst into laughter. Ha 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 ha, stupid Chinaman, go and kill each other. As he said, he controlled Li Fan and made Li Fan attack Murongying. However, Li Fan didn't move even a bit when Old Mo activated the silk threads. What? Old Mo was very surprised that his corpse stitching skill didn't work. How could it be? Old man, have you had enough fun? Li Fan lowered his voice and seemed to be a little unhappy. It's my turn, right? Chapter 486. That's impossible. Old Mo felt that he had suffered a great shock today. It seemed that the whole world had changed. All of this was against his common sense. Old man, come on, take my punch. Li Fan was very unhappy that this old guy wanted to control him like a puppet. The name Little Tyrant was not just for show. The thing that Li Fan hated the most was someone controlling him. He took a step forward and threw a punch at the old man's face. Bang! Old Mo's body flew out directly. He spun several times in the air and finally broke the wall behind him. He fell from the second floor to the ground outside. Old Mo's legs were disabled. Without a wheelchair, he could hardly move. At this time, he was lying in the sand in embarrassment and moaning painfully. "You're here to kill me again." Murong Ying was very unhappy and glared at Li Fan. "Nonsense, I didn't kill him." Li Fan hurriedly corrected Murong Ying's point of view. "I helped you, okay? It's a godly assist." "Humph." Murong Ying flicked her sleeves and lightly landed outside along the broken wall. She looked at the old Japanese spy lying on the ground. "Who else is involved in the fledgling project besides you?" Murong Ying was a little worried about the fledgling project, which didn't sound like a good thing. "Ha ha ha, don't expect me to tell you." Old Mo was a little desperate, but his faith in the Mikado was not extinguished. "You Chinese people are the stupidest people in the world. Our fledgling wings will spread again. The iron hooves of our Mikado will step on your land again." Murong Ying's high-heeled shoes stepped on his forehead and pierced his eyebrows. "In this case, it's useless to keep you alive." "Damn, you killed him just like that." Li Fan followed her out and couldn't help asking when he saw the old man's body lying on the ground. "Torture him and make him tell us the name list of the fledgling project members. These people are brainwashed death warriors." Murong Ying said straightforwardly, "He's the same as the devil cult's men of sacrifice, very tight-lipped. Even if they die, they won't reveal their secrets." "All right." Li Fan sighed. It was a pity that the true qi in his body was gone. Otherwise, if he absorbed it, he could have made some progress. Although this old man was crippled, he was indeed an expert who had reached the peak of perfection. In addition, if he entered the Jianghu with 12 experts, he could indeed stir up a bloody storm. However, he was unlucky enough to bump into Murong Ying. "Luo Xiaofeng, how could you not know that there is such a big collaborator in Yarawang village?" Li Fan couldn't help but complain to Dr. Luo. "Sigh, we don't care about the secular world," Luo Xiaofeng hurriedly explained. "Every day I'm busy refining pills. As for what happens outside the valley, it has nothing to do with us." He continued, "The Medicine King village is only responsible for the livelihood of our valley, such as sending us some vegetables and meat. As for other matters, we don't care about them." "Speaking of which, it's really dangerous," Li Fan exclaimed. "If he does something to the Medicine King Valley, I'm afraid that this place where the treasures of China are kept will cease to exist. No one can control the Medicine King Valley," Luo Xiaofeng said confidently. "The Medicine King Valley is a maverick existence. No matter who it is, they can't control the Medicine King Valley. But there's someone who wants to control us." Murong Ying looked into the distance with a hint of worry in her eyes. "If Li Wei really becomes the emperor of the pugilistic world, I'm afraid that no sect in the Jianghu will be able to escape his clutches. Alliance leader, why don't you become the emperor of the pugilistic world?" Luo Xiaofeng was not familiar with the affairs of the world and knew nothing about them. Hence, he asked a question that made Murong Ying feel extremely awkward. "It's no longer a feudal society." Murong Ying reminded Luo Xiaofeng. "The Jianghu doesn't need an emperor. The gold and silver swordsman is back." Li Fan saw a small white truck driving over slowly. The gold swordsman was driving while the silver swordsman was standing on the dump truck at the back. "Damn, this car is a little too advanced. It's good enough to have a seat." As Murong Ying spoke, she stomped on the ground and somersaulted in the air. Then, she landed steadily on the back of the truck. "Master, please take a seat in the car." The silver swordsman hurriedly half-knelt in front of Murong Ying and requested respectfully. "It's all right, the scenery outside is good." Murong Ying did not care about that. She stood in the car and gestured for Li Fan and the others to follow her. "Okay, even the alliance leader sits in such a car, let alone small fries like us." Li Fan laughed self-deprecatingly while Putty added, "Even an expert like Li Fan is a small fry. If an expert like Benefactor Li is just a small fry, then aren't we just ants? Buddha says that all living beings are equal." Li Fan reminded Putty. "Almsgiver Li is right, this little monk is too arrogant." The perverted monk immediately changed his words, and Li Fan laughed again. No, Putty, you haven't said that all living beings are equal. Why do you usually only enlighten female benefactors? Why don't you take the time to enlighten male benefactors? Amitabha. Excellent, excellent. Putty's face was pale, and he was obviously frightened by Li Fan's words. Moreover, these words made him unable to refute. It was simply stabbing his heart. You two, stop bickering. Who can help Luo Xiaofeng? Murong Ying reminded them. Luo Xiaofeng, who just said that he had the ability to protect himself, was now climbing the dump truck at the back of the car. He was using both his arms and legs, but he was very clumsy and could not get up. In the end, Li Fan could not bear it and reached out to pull him up. Thank you, thank you. Luo Xiaofeng sat in the car and wiped the cold sweat on his forehead. This Luo Xiaofeng was a little fat, and obviously lacked exercise. These pharmacists probably sat in front of the furnace every day, refining pills day and night, and did not have the time to exercise. It seems that Dr. Luo needs a bodyguard. Li Fan looked at Luo Xiaofeng and could not help but want to laugh at him. Li Fan, you have to be nicer to Luo Xiaofeng. Hey! Why? Sometimes, Murong Ying liked to make decisions for others, which made Li Fan a little confused. Don't forget, you run an escort agency. Murong Ying reminded Li Fan, which escort agency doesn't live on the edge of a knife? Having a pharmacist will only benefit your agency. She looked at Li Fan's shocked expression and paused for a moment before continuing. Furthermore, the pharmacists of the Valley of the Medicine Masters are highly sought after in the martial arts world. Even the 4 alliances of the martial arts world treat pharmacists as distinguished guests. What you have is what all the famous sects in Jianghu want. Chapter 487. Murong Ying took Li Fan and the others all the way back to City A. Li Fan arranged for Luo Xiaofeng to stay in the small earth building of the company and specially found someone to build a small courtyard for him with bricks and tiles. Murong Ying provided the Shunnong cauldron, and Luo Xiaofeng went in and was unwilling to come out. The Jianghu had been turbulent recently, and Li Fan's mobile app updated the news of the Jianghu every day. Recently, the most talked about sect in the Jianghu was the Invincible sect. This evil sect had been silent for a long time, and seemed to have gathered its strength and began to stir up waves in the Jianghu. Every sect was more or less attacked by the evil sect, and the whole Jianghu was filled with the smell of gunpowder. And as the leader of the Jianghu, Murong Ying was really busy now. Not only did she sign all kinds of documents every day, she often went out to run around. And Tai Zhu, since the last time Murong Ying was imprisoned, followed his mistress closely, for fear that she would encounter any danger. In City A, it seemed to be the two extremes. Recently, it was very comfortable. The yellow-clothed society was equivalent to being destroyed, and the remaining 2 forces were frantically fighting for the territory of the yellow-clothed society. This time, Liu Xinnan and Yang Ruining completely fell out, and the Vanguard Army and the Red Dragon Society would occasionally fight. However, this did not affect Li Fan at all. Every day, he went to school, occasionally went to the company, and usually concentrated on practicing martial arts at home. Big brother, something is really not right. When Li Fan was resting in the dojo at home, he received a call from Huang Lei. Old Guan and Psycho Yang have been out for a month. Huang Lei always had a bad feeling. How can a mission take so long? Can you contact them? After hearing what Huang Lei said, Li Fan also felt strange. Did something really happen to these 2 people? I can't contact them. In order to prevent malicious tracking, they left their phones at home. I got it. I'll send someone to inquire about them. Li Fan hung up and called Ling Tian. You mean the 2 of them? This was the first time Ling Tian was unable to fulfill Li Fan's request. I do have some information in the underworld, but I don't know much about the matters of the pugilistic world. However, you already have good resources by your side, so why did you come looking for me? I got it. Li Fan knew who Ling Tian was talking about, but it was impossible for him to shamelessly beg Murong Ying. Fuck. What's the point of saving face at this time? Li Fan secretly blamed himself. His brother's whereabouts were unknown, and he was still fussing over the issue of face. He patted his cheeks and stood up. Li Fan, who was wearing a loose martial attire, turned around and left the training hall, arriving at the study room on the 2nd floor. The gold and silver swordsman was like a door god, guarding the door of the study room. Just as Li Fan was about to go forward, the two of them pulled out their swords at the same time, staring at Li Fan like a tiger watching its prey. What's the meaning of this? Li Fan frowned. Without master's summon, outsiders are not allowed to enter. The gold and silver swordsman said very impolitely. Interesting. Li Fan sneered, I'm in my own home. Do I need to be controlled by you guys? You can do whatever you want in other rooms, but not here. The gold and silver swordsman's attitude was firm. The silver swordsman added, also, don't forget, this is master's home, not yours. You're awesome. Li Fan gave a thumbs up. This brother's words were definitely to provoke his anger. Go back. The gold swordsman pointed his sword at Li Fan. Otherwise, it won't be good for you. Then what if I insist on going in? Li Fan asked. No matter who you are, you'll be a corpse in the next second. The silver swordsman's words might be similar to Murong Ying's, but it also completely infuriated Li Fan. Get out of the way. Li Fan took a step forward, and the gold and silver swordsman's swords pierced toward Li Fan at the same time. However, Li Fan stretched out his hands and grabbed a sword in each hand. Although the sword chi of the gold and silver swordsman was sharp, it couldn't break through Li Fan's body protection. Get lost. Li Fan pushed with his hand, and the sword hilt hit the chest of the gold and silver swordsman, poking one of their acupoints. The blood of the two was immediately blocked. They half knelt on the ground at the same time, unable to move for a long time. Next time, when you're stronger, come and play with me, Li Fan said, and under the unwilling gazes of the two, he walked into Murong Ying's study. Although it was a study, for Murong Ying, it was no different from an office. She worked here every day and was very busy. Tai Zhu was in the kitchen, making some supplements for his miss to eat. At this time, Murong Ying was gently lying on her desk, seemingly taking a nap. Although Li Fan was a little angry just now that he saw Murong Ying, his anger dissipated. This girl must be exhausted. She seemed to be sleeping, quite quiet. If only she could be like this all the time, how obedient she would be. Li Fan couldn't help but stretch out his hand, wanting to touch Murong Ying's hair. But at this time, the hair on Li Fan's hand suddenly trembled, and he subconsciously retracted his right hand. Dang! A red tasseled flying knife pierced the wall next to him. If Li Fan hadn't retracted his hand in time, his palm would have been pierced. Who is it? Li Fan immediately looked back, but Murong Ying seemed to be too tired. She was still sleeping soundly and didn't wake up. The main thing was that the flying knife just now didn't have any murderous intent towards Murong Ying. Otherwise, even if she was sleeping soundly, she would definitely wake up in time. The room was empty, and only one window was open. Want to play? I will accompany you. Li Fan walked to the window, bent his knees, and jumped out of the window. 3 flying knives immediately shot over from the opposite side, forming a triangular shape, shooting straight at Li Fan. But this didn't pose a problem for Li Fan. His body spun in the air, and 2 fingers flicked, sending the 3 flying knives flying. Another 2 flying knives drew an arc in the air, one up and one down, one left and one right, shooting at Li Fan. Li Fan didn't panic. His body shook in the air, and he actually stepped on the 2 flying knives. He stepped on them and flew to the opposite roof. Pa pa pa. Another 3 flying knives, this time in a straight line, like a train, went straight to Li Fan's face. Li Fan couldn't help but be in awe. No matter what, the person opposite was a master of flying knives. He actually didn't have the confidence to deflect these 3 flying knives. Each of the flying daggers carried an astonishing amount of force, capable of piercing through him several times. It seemed that the other party really wanted to take his life. Chapter 488. Li Fan's body was in the air. Facing these 3 flying daggers with extremely strong penetrative power, he was also somewhat at a disadvantage. But Li Fan quickly adjusted his state. He took a deep breath and entered the lightning deer state. Li Fan's body spun in the air. He consecutively kicked out 3 rushing thunder feet. 3 electric lights flashed in the air. The 3 daggers were kicked away by Li Fan one after another. Dang, dang, dang. These 3 daggers were nailed to the opposite wall. The hilts of the daggers were embedded into the wall. But before Li Fan could be complacent, a flying dagger appeared in front of his eyebrows. This flying dagger was silent. When Li Fan was dealing with the 3 flying daggers, it had already arrived in front of him. If not for Li Fan's bullet time vision, perhaps this flying dagger would have already pierced through his eyebrows. But in the time it takes for a spark to fly off a flint, Li Fan's true chi condensed at a high speed and quickly emerged from his body. A vague figure stood up from behind him. It stretched out a true chi palm. With a snap, it grabbed the flying dagger in front of Li Fan's eyebrows. The figure condensed from true chi only appeared for a second before it dissipated. The sneak attack of the flying dagger also lost its attack power and fell to the ground. But Li Fan's reaction was very fast. He lifted his foot and kicked the flying dagger. The flying dagger drew an arc in the air and stabbed towards the figure on the roof. Dang! This flying dagger collided with another flying dagger. Both of them were sent flying in the air. But Li Fan also bought time. His body flashed in the air and landed on the roof of the opposite building. And a handsome pale-faced young man wearing a white trench coat was standing there. His right arm was wrapped in bandages and he was holding 3 flying daggers in his hand. Sorry, I'm already in front of you. Li Fan stood in front of this pale-faced young man and stared at him. This person looked the same as Yang Kai. He was obviously a man, but he was quite handsome. His hair was silver white and tied into a ponytail, hanging neatly behind him. He wore a black mask with a black dragon printed on it. Looking at this guy, he looked like a Chunibya. Do you want to report your name before launching a sneak attack on someone else's doorstep? H. I have nothing to say to a shameless person like you. The other party's voice was slightly rough. He glared at Li Fan as if he was very hostile. Which organization are you from? Can you at least tell me? Li Fan asked. The Embroidered Uniform Guard? Vanguard? Golden Eagle Castle? Storm? Devil Cult? After Li Fan finished speaking, he could not help but complain. Damn, I seem to have offended too many organizations. Guess it yourself. The pale-faced man threw out 2 more flying knives, but Li Fan's figure had disappeared in front of him. In the time it took to breathe, Li Fan was standing next to him, a finger pressed against his temple. If I were you, I'd have a calm talk. Li Fan persuaded. Even if I die, I'll bring you to hell with me, the pale-faced man said as he opened his trench coat, revealing several rows of flying knives hanging inside. Fuck, this person, if he goes out on the street with this, won't he be arrested as a terrorist? Then you should leave first. Li Fan was about to kill when a figure suddenly fell down and reached out to grab Li Fan's arm. A familiar fragrance. What are you doing? Li Fan looked at Murong Ying with some dissatisfaction. Are you here to snatch my head? Snatch what head? We're on the same side. Murong Ying rolled her eyes at Li Fan, then with a gentle tone, she said to the pale-faced man, Why are you here? On the same side. Li Fan was stunned for a moment. This was different from the organization he imagined. 2 things suddenly appeared that caught Li Fan's attention. One was the identity of this man, and the other was some kind of kung fu that he had just displayed during the crisis. True Chi seemed to condense into something in an instant, turning illusion into reality. No. It seemed to be a certain state of sky-swallowing toad. But this state seemed to be stronger than the usual sky-swallowing toad. It was just a matter of a moment, but it really made Li Fan somewhat uncertain. Eldest miss, please marry me. This man actually knelt down in front of Murong Ying and said very sincerely, Please be my woman, let me stay by your side. Murong Ying was obviously speechless, and Li Fan was also taken aback. Fuck, what's going on? Why did he propose to Murong Ying? Are you mistaken? Li Fan frowned and stood in front of Murong Ying. Murong Ying is my woman. Humph, but you can't protect your woman. The pale-faced man sneered, otherwise, she wouldn't have been imprisoned. This has nothing to do with Li Fan. Murong Ying also defended Li Fan. He wasn't there at the time. That's because he didn't fulfill his responsibility as a husband. The pale-faced man continued to say unyieldingly, "If it were me, I would protect Miss at all times. I have been training myself since I was young. I want to marry Miss and become her protector. Can I beat him?" Li Fan asked. "Okay, stop messing around. Murong Ying had a headache. There have been enough things recently. You two don't add to my troubles. How can I hold back my anger when someone is trying to steal my wife?" Li Fan clenched his fists, and his knuckles made cracking sounds. The pale-faced man also grabbed the throwing knife with both hands, ready to fight at any time. "Calm down, Li Fan. Tian is a woman." "Not even a woman." "Huh." Li Fan froze for a moment. "Another woman?" Murong Ying has already pulled off the mask of the pale-faced man. Sure enough, a beautiful woman's face was revealed. No wonder she looks like a woman. It turns out she's really a woman. "Miss, it doesn't matter if it's a woman. It seems that without the mask, the woman's voice has returned to normal. I have been learning to be a man since I was young. I will protect you like a man." As they spoke, Tai Zhu, who was standing at the window, shouted at them. "Miss, son-in-law, dinner is ready." "Ah, Sir Tai Zhu." When the woman saw Tai Zhu, her face was full of envy. "I will definitely take Tai Zhu as my goal." "What the? You can forget about it." Li Fan almost collapsed. Another person like Tai Zhu, he definitely can't stand it. What a strange worldview, to actually take Tai Zhu as his goal. "Li Fan, let me introduce you. Yin family is my Murong family's retainer for generations. This Yin Tian is one of my loyal retainers. By the way, last time I sent her to protect you, it was her." Li Fan is a bit confused. Damn, such a tomboy is called Tian, and the other one is so soft, but is called Tai Zhu. What is wrong with this world? Chapter 489. There were a lot of things that Li Fan couldn't figure out. But the matter in front of him made him even more puzzled. Looking at Yin Tian sitting across from him with a piece of bread in her hand and looking at Murong Ying who was eating with a face full of love, Li Fan felt uncomfortable no matter how he looked at it. He was really drunk. How could there be such a weirdo in this world? Li Fan was very puzzled. He thought that this world was too big and there were too many weirdos, so he couldn't recognize them all. "Son-in-law, this is charcoal roasted beef treasure, eat more." Tai Zhu shyly placed a plate of beef treasure in front of Li Fan. "Eat more, to nourish your body." "Fuck, I eat beef treasure to nourish my dick." "Fuck, it really nourishes my dick." Li Fan felt a headache coming on. How should he deal with this table of weirdos? It was enough to have Tai Zhu, but now there was also Yin Tian who was coveting his fiancée. Beef treasure is not nourishing, it's all rumors. Brother-in-law doesn't need this kind of thing. Murong sat beside Li Fan and put a plate of braised pigtail into Li Fan's plate. "Brother-in-law, it's a form of nourishing what you eat. Come, eat some of this." "Fuck. Is your brother-in-law's vitals like a pigtail? Or is it rolled?" Li Fan almost peed his pants because of Murong's love. He thought to himself, "You little girl, how many times have you eaten it? Don't you know what it looks like? What does it mean to hold up the sky? What does it mean to be the godly needle of the East Sea? This girl is just deliberately teasing me." It was mainly because Li Fan was busy practicing that he might have neglected to keep in touch with Murong's love. This little girl, in private, was still very attached to him. And the gold and silver swords stood at the side, glaring at him, wishing that their gazes could turn into swords and poke holes in Li Fan. Sigh. This family is really awesome. That day, there was only him and Murong Ying staying here. At most, there was Tai Zhu, which was quite tiring. Now, there were 4 more mouthfuls. It was practically destroying his heart. Although the pressure of life was great, it shouldn't be like this. Li Fan was considering whether he should look for a house. That day, he was willing to live in Murong Ying's house because he didn't have much money. But now, his escort agency was slowly on the right track. Even if he couldn't afford to buy a house, he could at least afford to rent one. If all else failed, he would just stay in his own earthen building. But Yin Xiaoru and Xia Hong were there. It didn't seem very convenient. However, it was time to think about it. It was not a good idea to always stay at Murong Ying's place. Brother-in-law, what are you thinking about? Seeing that her brother-in-law was in a daze, constantly fiddling with the pig's tail with a fork, Murong's Ari finally couldn't help but ask. Right. Li Fan returned to business. Wife, is Murong's family's intelligence network powerful? Hearing Li Fan's question, Murong Ying, who was originally focused on eating, raised her head and looked at Li Fan in confusion. Not bad. What do you want? Old Guan and Yang Kai have been out for more than a month, and there's no news of them. Li Fan asked, can you help me investigate their whereabouts? Murong Ying gestured to Golden Swordsman, who immediately cupped his hands and left the dining room. After 5 or 6 minutes, he walked back in and whispered something in Murong Ying's ear. Got it. Murong Ying nodded and then told Li Fan, I didn't find any news of them. However, Murong's family's intelligence network is limited. If you want to know something, I recommend you to see the Phoenix King. Phoenix King? Who the hell was this guy? What a fantastic name. He's the all-knowing man in Jianghu, the biggest intelligence dealer. Murong Ying said, he claims that his birds are everywhere in Jianghu, collecting intelligence for him. And he himself is the king of all birds, so people call him the Phoenix King. The all-knowing man in Jianghu? Yes. Murong Ying nodded. He's very famous and has a high status in Jianghu. It's said that there's no news in Jianghu that he doesn't know. He even knows what kind of underwear my father wears. Holy shit. Really? Then what do you wear? Yin Tiantian threw a flying knife, which was caught by Li Fan's fingers. Don't worry. Although his intelligence network is powerful, it must be under surveillance. Murong Ying smiled. Except for you and Xiao Ari, I won't show my underwear in front of others. As soon as she finished speaking, she suddenly froze and continued to eat with her head down. Li Fan didn't notice the hidden meaning in her words. He was only worried about the safety of his 2 brothers. Where is this Phoenix King? I'll go find him. The fastest way is in Songjiang. Murong Ying reminded Li Fan, but this Phoenix King is unreasonable. Every time he asks for intelligence, he will ask for a reward. Instead, the reward will depend on his mood. Now is not the time to worry about this. Li Fan said, Old Guan and Yang Kai's lives are hanging by a thread. I have to find them quickly. Okay, Tian, then you send Li Fan to the Yellow Springs Road. Huh? The Yellow Springs Road? Does he want me to die? The Yellow Springs Road is a place name, Murong Ying added. Miss, I don't want to send him. I hate him, and want to vomit. Yin Tiantian said bluntly. This is an order. Murong Ying was incomparably domineering and decisively ordered, accompany him to the Yellow Springs Road, not sleep with him. Why so many things? Okay, since it's Mrs. request, I will do it even if I have to sacrifice my life. Yin Tiantian reluctantly agreed, not to mention enduring a guy who disgusts me. Tell me where it is. I will go myself. Li Fan was unhappy as if he was begging her. Only the guide can take you to the Yellow Springs Road. Murong Ying explained, you have to control your temper. After all, it's to save people. Brother-in-law, I want to go too. Murong's eyes lit up. I heard the Yellow Springs Road is a very fun place. Fuck, where did you hear this from? No, Xiao Ari is not allowed to go. Without waiting for Li Fan to speak, Murong Ying flatly refused. Li Fan, you and Tian set off after dinner. She thought for a moment and ordered the silver swordsman to bring a black box. This box contains a night-luminescent pearl the size of an egg from Nanyang. Use this to exchange for information from the Phoenix King. He should agree. Okay, thank you. For the safety of his brother, Li Fan had to accept it for the time being. I owe you. Humph. Murong Ying seemed to be a little dissatisfied. Taizhu hurriedly tried to smooth things over. Aya, son-in-law, we are a family. Why do you always say you owe me? A family? Li Fan glanced at Yin Tiantian and the silver swordsman who were hostile to him. Are they really a family? Chapter 490. Taking advantage of the night, Li Fan and Yin Tiantian went all the way to Songjiang. The 2 of them were never meant to be together, but for the sake of Murong Ying, they were forced to be together. Taizhu sent them to the edge of Songjiang. As soon as the car drove away, the two of them immediately took 10 steps to the side, widening the distance between them. You can smell the stench from 10 meters away. Are you a dog? Li Fan rolled his eyes at Yin Tiantian. Send me to the underworld, and then you can do whatever you want. I'm happy to send you to the underworld, Yin Tiantian said and smiled. Her hands were holding a few knives, staring at Li Fan as if she was looking at a corpse. If we really fight, the one who will die is you. Li Fan told the truth, so I advise you to calm down. If it wasn't because of Mrs. Order, who would accompany you to this place? Yin Tiantian was still complaining, staying with you for 1 more minute, I feel like I'm better off dead. Psycho. Li Fan felt that this Yin Tiantian was a bit unreasonable. Her sexual orientation was not normal, but she also had some serious delusions. If you can die in this place, that would be great. At that time, I can marry Miss, accompany her to the church, and have children. Psycho, quickly point the way. Li Fan bluntly scolded. Yin Tiantian reluctantly walked over, stood on the shore, and then took out a searchlight. She pointed it at the river a few times, as if she was giving some kind of signal. At this time, it was spring. The river ice had melted, and the river water was surging. After a long time, there was still no movement. What are you doing? Li Fan was a bit puzzled. What's the hurry? Wait. Yin Tiantian snorted. Smelly man is impatient, rushing to reincarnate. Damn, this Yin Tiantian is asking for a beating. Li Fan felt that the devil sect's Liu Runzhu was much more pleasing to the eye than her. Li Fan waited in the cold wind. His eyes fell on Liu Runzhu's right arm, looking at the bandage. Is your right hand injured? Chen-ph, what do you know? Yin Tiantian touches her right arm and says very proudly, in my right arm, there is a terrifying black dragon sealed. If it is released, the world will be destroyed. The way Yin Tiantian spoke and acted was just like a boy with Chunibya syndrome. She had a handsome ponytail and was wearing boots. She pointed at Li Fan with her right hand. You, don't mess with me, or I'll use this black dragon to devour you. Li Fan felt speechless. This sister's brain was full of shit. At this moment, the sound of the river splashing could be heard. Finally, there was movement. Li Fan turned around and saw a flower boat approaching them. This flower boat was not long, only 5 meters long. There were 9 red lanterns hanging on the boat, making it look like a high-class ancient moving brothel. Go up. He looked like an ordinary person, but after practicing martial arts, he became a lot more spirited. I didn't choose the path in the beginning. But since I've already walked, I'll walk to the end. Li Fan said very calmly, I know you people look down on me, but everything I have now, I relied on my own fists to fight for it. Shameless. It was obviously the eldest miss who gave you everything. Dang. Li Fan's wine cup was slammed into the table by him. He looked coldly at Yin Tiantian. Little friend, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. I've already repaid what I owed to Murong Ying. I'll tell you again, everything I have is from my own hard work. Didn't you use Murong's swordsmanship today? Yin Tiantian pointed at the matter of Li Fan using 2 fingers to flick the flying knife in the air. And your internal strength, didn't it all come from the eldest Miss's body? I don't blame you for not understanding. Li Fan's eyes were cold, but once you enter the Yellow Springs, you can scram. Chapter 491. For the sake of eldest miss, I didn't kill you. Yin Tiantian seemed to be warning Li Fan, don't take it too far. It's important to know yourself. We really have a tacit understanding. Li Fan couldn't help but clap his hands. For the sake of Murong Ying, I let you live until now. Although your skills are not bad, if I really want to kill you, you can only wait for your death. Yin Tiantian seemed to look down on Li Fan's kung fu. Li Fan frowned. His palm slammed on the table, and the luminous cup that was embedded in it suddenly flew out and appeared in front of the two of them. In the next second, Li Fan's palm was about to slap the wine cup and then let the wine cup pierce through Yin Tiantian's brain. But at this moment, it seemed that because Li Fan slammed the table and raised some dust, Yin Tiantian suddenly sneezed. Li Fan didn't know why, but he subconsciously avoided Yin Tiantian. The wine cup was hit by him, and it flew past Yin Tiantian's ear, hit the wall behind her, and was embedded in it. Yin Tiantian blinked her eyes and then asked softly, why are you angry? Why are you angry? This soft voice, compared to the tomboy Yin Tiantian from before, was like a completely different feeling. As she let down her hair, letting it flow down, she said to Li Fan at the same time, "Brother Li, this wine cup is very expensive. If you break it, the owner of the boat will be very angry." Li Fan frowned as he looked at the Yin Tiantian in front of him, who seemed to have changed into a different person. What's wrong? Nothing. Yin Tiantian tilted her head and looked at Li Fan with some confusion. "Brother Li, what happened? You're different from before." Li Fan couldn't help but want to roar, "Are you playing with me? How could that be? Brother Li is eldest Mrs. Fiancé, how could Tiantian make you angry?" Yin Tiantian said charmingly, "Is Brother Li a little seasick? Don't worry, we'll be there soon. Brother Li, just bear with it for a while more." The way she called him Big Brother Li was really sweet. Damn. Are you kidding me? Looking at this beautiful woman with long black hair in front of him, Li Fan felt a little dizzy. "Don't you hate me? How could this be?" Yin Tiantian exclaimed. "How could Tiantian hate Brother Li? Tiantian likes to be friends with everyone." This was a completely feminine way of speaking, completely different from the style just now. Li Fan had a headache. He simply ignored Yin Tiantian to prevent his headache from worsening. This girl. Who knows what's wrong with her? "Brother Li, do you want anything else to drink?" Yin Tiantian kept asking. "Brother Li, are you tired? Tiantian will give you a massage." With that, this girl really walked behind Li Fan and started to massage his shoulders. Li Fan originally wanted to refuse, but this girl's technique seemed to be quite good. It was quite comfortable. Li Fan originally wanted to refuse, but he swallowed it back into his stomach. At this moment, it was really hard to refuse. Brother Li's muscles are very strong. "One look and I can tell that you've been training hard. I admire Brother Li's hard work the most. You're Tiantian's role model. Didn't you say that? I'm just a gigolo. How could that be? Who in their right mind would say such nonsense?" Yin Tiantian flatly denied. "Brother Li has been training hard. Usually, I've been secretly observing you." "You've been secretly observing me?" Li Fan was a little surprised. "Yes, it was eldest miss who ordered me to secretly protect Brother Li." Yin Tiantian nodded seriously. The fragrance from her body floated into Li Fan's nose, making him feel a little itchy. "Tiantian has been carrying out your mission well. All right then." Murongying also had good intentions. Li Fan also didn't want to scold her. He asked some irrelevant questions, but his words completely showed that Yin Tiantian didn't remember what she said before. But the things that Murongying ordered her to do, she remembered clearly. "The boat should be arriving soon." Yin Tiantian glanced at the ancient clock hanging on the wall. Just as she finished her words, the boat trembled slightly and seemed to have stopped. Following that, the cabin that the two of them were in started to shake. Following that, the table actually slowly sank down. What the hell? Li Fan frowned as he looked at the floor that they were sitting on sinking into the water. They seemed to be sitting on a lift surrounded by a glass wall that could see the murky water outside. But the bottom of the water was very dim, and they couldn't see any creatures around. Perhaps, there were many fishies swimming in front of them, but they just couldn't see them. "It's okay, Brother Li. This yellow springs is under Songjiang." Yin Tiantian comforted Li Fan. The floor continued to descend and finally fell into a deep underground passage. Yin Tiantian and Li Fan walked out from the floor and stood in this underground passage. Next to the passage, there was an underground express train. Li Fan didn't know what to say. Should he say that this Phoenix King's hands and eyes are everywhere? To be able to build an unknown subway station in the underground of Songjiang. How huge the financial resources were needed to do this. "Let's go. The train leaves on the dot. It's almost time." Yin Tiantian was like a tour guide as she pulled Li Fan into the train. At this time, There were already some other passengers in the train. Some of them wore suits and leather shoes, and some wore ancient clothes. They came in all shapes and sizes, and it was unknown what their identities were. Everyone remained mysterious and silent to each other. Yin Tiantian reminded Li Fan not to talk much and took him into an empty carriage. Are they all going to Yellow Springs Road? Li Fan finally couldn't help but ask. Yin Tiantian nodded. Yellow Springs Road is a very famous place. However, Tiantian doesn't like it there very much. Why? Li Fan was very curious. What kind of place is this Yellow Springs Road? It's just. I don't like it. When Brother Li goes there, you will know. Yin Tiantian reminded him, but the girls on Yellow Springs Road are particularly bad. Brother Li, don't talk to them, otherwise, you will be tricked by them to eat you. They will eat you until there are no bones left. Damn, so scary, Li Fan was shocked. Then I should be careful when the time comes. Yellow Springs Road. What kind of place is it? Li Fan became more and more curious, and the train finally started slowly. The speed of the fast train was also amazing. It was rumbling forward under the ground. Li Fan was practicing his qi, but the door of the carriage was suddenly opened. A male passenger walked in. He seemed to be travel-worn and in a hurry. On his waist, there was a ID tag inadvertently revealed. It was dark black with a Yang seal character on it. Chapter 492. Clang. A throwing knife suddenly flew out and nailed the carriage door. The travel-worn man tilted his head and gently licked his lips. Tiantian. Li Fan didn't understand why Yin Tiantian suddenly made a move. Brother Li, he's a black card assassin from King of Hell Palace. Yin Tiantian quickly explained, he's coming for us. Little girl, how can you talk nonsense? The travel-worn man pulled out a scimitar from his waist. I'm indeed a black card assassin, but I'm not coming for you. He said, his eyes fell on Li Fan. I'm coming for him. King of Hell Palace? Is it an assassin organization? Li Fan has already guessed most of it, but he appeared very indifferent. He just sat there, looking at the man in front of him. It seems like a fledgling. The travel-worn man held the scimitar and stared at Li Fan. I really don't understand why you have the title of Little Overlord. However, today you will die in my hands. Remember my name, I'm a black card assassin from King of Hell Palace, Scorpion. As an assassin, don't you talk a bit too much? Li Fan let Tiantian stand next to him. The current gentle version of Tiantian, he didn't know how she would perform in a fight. But he was a man, how could he let a woman be in danger? It was even more impossible to rely on a woman to protect him. Brother Li, you have to be careful. King of Hell Palace's black card assassins are very powerful. Yin Tiantian reminded Li Fan from behind. Don't be afraid. Scorpion kindly reminded Li Fan, I will let you die without pain. With that, Scorpion suddenly jumped up and directly landed on the ceiling above his head, his whole body almost sticking to it. As an expert, flexible use of true qi is an essential ability for everyone. This Scorpion was like this. He circulated his true qi on the surface of his feet, like a suction cup, sucking the ceiling above his head, his whole body hanging upside down, his pair of eyes faintly emitted a red light. Scorpion suddenly pounced down, his body seemed to bring out a black phantom, and in an instant, he was in front of Li Fan. At the same time, the machete in his hand stabbed towards Li Fan's throat. This move was fast, accurate, and ruthless. It was many times stronger than the ghost-faced assassin that Li Fan had encountered. The scimitar was about to touch Li Fan's neck, but Li Fan only stretched out 3 fingers and pinched the scimitar. Clang! Li Fan's hand pressed down, dragging Scorpion's body and smashing him to the ground. Scorpion spat out a mouthful of blood, but no one knew what kind of martial arts he practiced, but it was as if he was smeared with oil, instantly slipping away from Li Fan's palm. What a little overlord! You live up to your reputation. Scorpion wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Li Fan's move was not light at all, causing him to suffer some internal injuries. Fortunately, I'm prepared. Just as he finished speaking, the window of the carriage was suddenly shattered. A pair of hands reached in from the outside and grabbed Li Fan's neck, strangling him and pulling him out of the window. Li Fan was surprised. This scorpion actually arranged a companion outside the carriage. Although the underground tunnel outside was not as narrow as the subway, it was definitely not that wide. To be able to hide in such a place for so long, it could be seen how bold the assassin outside was. Let go of Brother Li. Yin Tiantian threw out a throwing knife, but when it hit the man's arm, it bounced off. This is bad. Yin Tiantian exclaimed, this man is wearing soft armor inside. And Li Fan has been pulled out of the train and was in the middle of the whistling tunnel. Outside was a grinning shadow. No one knew what kind of Evildor he is, but he was pulling Li Fan as if he wanted to drag him to hell. Get lost. Li Fan grabbed the window with one hand and hit the man's lower abdomen with his elbow. The opponent was knocked away by Li Fan's elbow. His body immediately flew out and fiercely smashed into the opposite wall of the tunnel, causing gravel to fly out. But he had true chi protection on the outside and soft armor on the inside, so he was able to survive. Moreover, he crawled towards Li Fan on the back of the carriage. Scorpion was entangled by Yin Tiantian, while Li Fan flipped over and jumped in through the window, kicking Scorpion's body with both feet. Bang! Scorpion was kicked to the other side of the carriage by Li Fan. His body smashed into the window, causing cracks to appear on the window. This king of hell sure has some tricks up his sleeves. They actually made a double assassination attempt on me. How did they know that I was coming to the Yellow Springs Road? Where did this assassin from King of Hell get this information? Could it be that Yin Tiantian sold me out? That shouldn't be the case. Even if she hates me, she is still Murong Ying's person. She would not do something like betraying me for some brainless hatred. This is really strange. Li Fan could not figure it out. But now is not the time for him to think about these questions. Scorpion had already readjusted his state. Holding the curved blade, he sneered at Li Fan. Li Fan also circulated true chi throughout his body, focusing all his attention on Scorpion in front of him. Time is limited. He needs to kill this Scorpion in one blow before the other enemy arrives. Li Fan was just about to make his move when the ceiling was suddenly pierced by two arms. The assassin outside had actually locked Li Fan's head with both arms and hung him up just like that. Our teamwork is not bad, right? Scorpion laughed as he slashed at Li Fan's neck again. Li Fan raised his leg and kicked Scorpion away. At the same time, he entered the Dragon Emperor snake state. Dragon shattering hand. Li Fan's right hand pierced through the iron sheet on top of his head. Following that, he felt his hand piercing through something hard, followed by a warm touch. Blood spurted out from the top of his head. The hands that were tightly wrapped around Li Fan also loosened. Scorpion had already attacked Li Fan from the side. The curved blade in his hand once again slashed at Li Fan. Spirit snake bursts out of its hole. Li Fan's hand wrapped around Scorpion's arm, directly locking his attack, causing Scorpion to be stunned. Following that, Li Fan's four fingers instantly struck Scorpion's throat. This was not a light blow. Scorpion's face immediately turned green. He could not breathe for a long time. Both his hands clutched his throat, trying to gasp for air, but there was no oxygen flowing into his lungs. Who hired you? Li Fan questioned Scorpion, who was kneeling there, but Scorpion did not say anything to Li Fan. He glanced at Li Fan and suddenly swung his curved blade at Li Fan. Li Fan dodged to the side. The Scorpion had already jumped out of the window that had just been broken. They ran away. Yin Tiantian looked out of the window. I can't see them. Looks like there is one more organization going against me. Li Fan looked at the blood on his hand and could not help but smile bitterly. Chapter 493. Let me help Brother Li check it out. Yin Tiantian seemed to be better at such things. Maybe we can find out who the mastermind is. Forget it, forget it. It doesn't matter if there are more lice. Li Fan waved his hand. He was already used to such things. Counter soldiers with arms, water with an earth weir. I want to see what tricks Yang Luo Dian has up their sleeves. You have to be careful when you reach the Yellow Springs. These killers from Yang Luo Dian are everywhere. Yin Tiantian reminded him. Since Brother Li has already placed a bounty on them, they will definitely pursue you to the death. I hope they are beauties. Li Fan smiled. There were too many things to worry about, and he didn't want to think about them anymore. How much longer until we reach the Yellow Springs? Li Fan asked. Soon. This train is quite fast. Yes. I can feel it. When he landed outside the train, he could already feel the crazy speed. Li Fan did not want to experience that thrill again. He sat in the carriage and waited for the train to reach its destination. After about 10 minutes, the train began to slow down. There was also a glimmer of light in the tunnel. We are about to reach our destination. Yin Tiantian stood up and opened the carriage door. Welcome to the Yellow Springs. Damn, I can't accept this kind of welcome. But who asked the Phoenix King to give her territory such a name? What a weirdo. Yin Tiantian led Li Fan down the train. Outside was a huge underground street. Li Fan felt as though he had arrived at a red light district. There were all kinds of brothels on both sides of the street. Red lanterns hung from the eaves, indicating a different kind of happiness on this street. There were many girls standing by the street, using all kinds of ways to seduce the customers. A few women kept throwing flirtatious glances at Li Fan. Tiantian hurriedly stretched out her hand to block Li Fan's view. Brother Li, don't look at them. They are all bad women. Li Fan finally understood. The women here would eat people, and what it meant, they really knew how to eat people, and they would eat people until not even bones were left. Little brother, come and play. It's fun. A beautiful woman crooked her finger at Li Fan. Her intention to tease him was very obvious. Brother Li, don't listen to them. All right, don't look, don't listen. Then how am I supposed to walk? Li Fan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Only then did Yin Tiantian let go of her hand and said with some dissatisfaction. This place is simply a den of devils. Yin Tiantian didn't seem to like this place very much, but Li Fan couldn't take care of her preferences. Right now, he had to quickly meet the Phoenix King. Where should I find the Phoenix King? Li Fan stole a glance at the girls. Their outfits were too provocative. There were all kinds of styles. There were ancient costumes and Japanese cosplay costumes. This place was a man's paradise. The Phoenix King was indeed awesome. He actually managed to create such a huge pink industry in the Yellow Springs. Was he the king of intelligence or the king of lust? If you want to see the Phoenix King, you must give him a gift. Yin Tiantian said as she took out a golden leaf from her bosom. This is a greeting gift. With that, Yin Tiantian endured her disgust and called a beautiful woman with a fox tail on her butt in front of her. If it's a girl, you have to pay more. The fox-tailed beauty said in a sweet voice. We want to see the Phoenix King. Yin Tiantian ignored her words and placed the golden leaf in her palm. The fox-tailed beauty's expression turned cold as she sized up Yin Tiantian. Wait a moment. The fox-tailed beauty twisted her butt and returned to the brothel at the back. Li Fan stood on the street, looking left and right. There were all kinds of beauties around him. None of them looked bad. Outside, any one of them would be a well-known figure in the brothel. From this, it could be seen that the consumption level of this place was definitely not low. The Yellow Springs is heaven for the rich and hell for the poor. Yin Tiantian seemed to have guessed Li Fan's thoughts and said in his ear, Brother Li, don't come to this kind of place on normal days. Don't worry, I'm a person with perseverance and integrity. Li Fan said solemnly. Then, Tiantian believes in Brother Li Yin Tiantian's current state. Although Li Fan was a bit unable to accept it, it was better than Yin Tiantian who hated him. Little brother, do you want to play? A woman dressed like a cat girl was holding a banana in her hand. She slowly peeled it in front of Li Fan and then put it in her mouth and licked it with her tongue. Li Fan felt a little reaction in his body. This kind of scene, it's hard for people not to have a reaction. He's the guest of the Phoenix King. It was the voice of the fox-tailed beauty from before. Her words made the cat girl lose interest, and she obediently turned around and went back. A luxuriously decorated carriage trotted over and stopped beside them. Come on up. The fox-tailed beauty opened the door of the carriage and invited Li Fan and Yin Tian. Okay. We'll just ride in the carriage for the rest of the journey. Li Fan was somewhat helpless, but he still got on the carriage. The carriage was very spacious. Li Fan and Yin Tian sitting inside would not be crowded, not to mention that the fox-tailed beauty also sat on the carriage. Li Fan looked at her and could not help but ask, Can I ask you a question? What? The fox-tailed beauty was trimming her nails. Regarding beauty, women are always very persistent. Especially for women in this line of work, although they earn a lot of their expenses are used to make themselves more beautiful. Don't you feel uncomfortable with something stuffed in your back? Li Fan could not help but finally asked. Oh, it's okay. The fox-tailed beauty said casually, I'm used to it. If I don't stuff it now, it'll be a bit uncomfortable. This answer was amazing. At least, Li Fan could not refute it. So dirty. Yin Tian could not help but mutter. This beauty, it's hard to say if it's dirty or not, but we're earning our hard-earned money. The fox-tailed beauty did not mind, everyone needs to survive, so why laugh at each other? Humph. Yin Tian did not say anything and turned her head away from her. How long until we reach the Phoenix King? Li Fan asked. Believe me, I'm tired of sitting in the carriage. Not long. The fox-tailed beauty said, we can be happy for a while. If you stay long enough, we can be happy until the end of the journey. However, if you don't stay long enough, it doesn't matter, we can be happy for a few more times. The fox-tailed beauty winked at Li Fan. Chapter 494. Li Fan thought about it and finally decided to reject the fox-tailed beauty's suggestion. After all, he swore in his heart that his first time can only be given to the girl he likes. Although this fox-tailed beauty looks pretty good. But considering her occupation, he decided to forget about it. My brother Li has a firm will, he won't be confused by you. Yin Tian subconsciously touched a flying knife, and Li Fan hurriedly pulled her little hand. An ordinary brothel girl is not worth using throwing knives to deal with. I'll just sit quietly for a while. Li Fan closed his eyes and felt the change of the qi in his body. This Yellow Springs is indeed a wonderful place. A huge pink organization. It can be considered the biggest pink industry that Li Fan has ever seen. Moreover, everything here is legal. No police will come to investigate them. Phoenix King is indeed omnipotent to be able to create this kind of place. To be able to spend money in this place is definitely not something an ordinary martial artist can afford. Is this your first time meeting Phoenix King? The fox-tailed beauty looked at Li Fan curiously. Don't be too nervous. Phoenix King is actually very easy to talk to. After all, he is a businessman. I hope so. Li Fan slowly opened his eyes. It's just that I didn't expect Phoenix King to have other industries other than the intelligence business. Are you talking about us? The fox-tailed beauty pointed at her chest. Then you are very wrong. What do you mean? Because Phoenix King's industry is not just us. The fox-tailed beauty smiled. Phoenix King owns the entire Yellow Springs. This place can be said to be the heaven for the rich. Li Fan was stunned for a moment. That means Phoenix King's industry should be very huge. Phoenix King is the underground king here. Yin Tian explained to Li Fan, I heard that there is a gambling city here. I really want to go take a look. I won't go to the brothel and you won't go to the gambling city. We have a deal, how about it? Li Fan quickly pulled Yin Tian. This girl is actually interested in the gambling city. Not only the gambling city, there are many other fun places. The fox-tailed beauty winked at them. I can be your guide as long as I pay. You're willing to be a guide? Li Fan was a bit surprised. Walking a few steps is better than being poked in the ass, right? Aren't you used to it? I'm used to it, but it doesn't mean the model won't change. The fox-tailed beauty covered her mouth and chuckled, while Li Fan's face was slightly red. Yin Tian was fine. She couldn't understand the conversation between these two people. We are almost there. The fox-tailed beauty gently pushed open the window and looked outside. Where's Phoenix King? This Phoenix King really knows how to name. Li Fan looked out. In front of him was a bridge, which was connected to a huge Chinese-style palace. King, 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 king. This guy, living in this kind of palace, did he think he was an underground emperor? It was hard to say. With such a huge underground business, no one would deny that he was the emperor here. That was hard to say. With such a huge underground industry, no one would deny that he was the emperor. They were clad in golden red armor, and each of them had a long blade hanging from their waists. This Phoenix King's guards are all martial artists. He's really traditional. Just as Li Fan finished speaking, he saw some bodyguards in black suits in the city. Each of them brazenly held a Remington shotgun. Violence and safety coexisted. This Phoenix King. What kind of person is he? Li Fan did not dare to imagine. The carriage was unimpeded. It entered the courtyard and finally stopped in front of the hall. The fox-tailed beauty led Li Fan and Yin Tiantian to an elevator. However, the fox-tailed beauty reminded them, only one person can enter. Which one of you wants to see the Phoenix King? Me. Li Fan took a step forward. Yin Tiantian tactfully took a step back. Brother Li, I'll wait for you here. En. Li Fan looked at the two tower-like bodyguards standing on both sides. The two of them also glanced at Li Fan before holding their shotguns and looking forward like door gods. Li Fan stepped into the elevator. The fox-tailed beauty could only send him here. 12 floors. The fox-tailed beauty reminded him. Got it. Thank you for your help. Li Fan said goodbye to the two of them and watched the elevator door slowly close. The elevator trembled but did not rise. Instead, it chose to descend. Damn, descending again? This guy wants to go all the way to the 18th level of hell. Li Fan could not help but ridicule. The elevator descended to a certain level and finally stopped. The elevator door slowly opened. In front of Li Fan was a beautiful underwater world. The surrounding walls were made of transparent glass. Outside the glass, there were many bright lights, which illuminated the water in a myriad of colors. There were many beautiful fishes swimming around in groups. It was a beautiful sight. It seemed that this place should be under some water. Perhaps it was the sea. A long crystal corridor led to a huge desk in front. A somewhat fat man was sitting behind the office desk, smoking a very expensive-looking tobacco pipe in his hand. Are you surprised? This fat man seemed to be Phoenix King. He really could not see any similarity between him and an underground emperor. This man did not even have a guard. He met Li Fan alone. He took a puff from his tobacco pipe and continued, "People who come here for the first time will be surprised. But this is human, there is nothing that cannot be done." Are you Phoenix King? That's right, the world's #1 intelligence king. The fat man nodded. Oh, I know what you're thinking. But believe me, being fat has nothing to do with ability. This Phoenix King. Li Fan felt that his eyes seemed to have some kind of magic power. He could even see through him. Everyone who comes here has something to ask of me. The Phoenix King tapped his smoking pipe. Money, women, happiness. Of course, there is also intelligence. Tell me, what is it that you want? He used his tobacco pipe to tap the golden leaf beside him. Phoenix King will grant all your requests. I want to know the whereabouts of Guan Wenbao and Yang Kai. Oh, the descendant of the Guan family and that abandoned disciple of Wudang? Phoenix King nodded. To be honest, I am still very optimistic about your escort agency. Do you still accept investments? I am not interested at the moment. Li Fan felt that he had no secrets in front of this Phoenix King. All right then, it is not difficult to know their information. Phoenix King seemed to be talking about something very casual, but everything that you know from me comes with a price. Chapter 495. I'm prepared. Li Fan immediately takes out that beautiful southern pearl, opens the box and shows it to Phoenix King. The moment the box was opened, a round white light almost illuminated the large underwater room. Even Phoenix King's eyes brighten up. Alliance Master Murong Shaw is generous. She even took out her treasured southern pearl. Phoenix King immediately recognizes that this is Murong Ying's item. Although this item is good, I do not lack money. Phoenix King's words cause Li Fan to be shocked. You want to use this pearl to exchange for my information? That's not enough. Oh. Li Fan does not know what Phoenix King wants. Furthermore, as the little tyrant, isn't it a little boring for you to use your wife's item to exchange for your brother's safety? Phoenix King's words have indeed stabbed Li Fan's spine, but it also caused Li Fan to be a little confused. If you don't want the luminous pearl, then what do you want? Of course it's something that only little tyrant has. Phoenix King chuckles before waving at Li Fan. Come here. Li Fan is not afraid. He immediately walks forward and stands in front of Phoenix King's desk. Let me bring you to a place first. As Phoenix King speaks, he presses the switch on the desk. The ground beneath their feet suddenly trembles. Following that, the area around the desk rises up and slowly rises above their head. The ceiling above their heads also opens up, allowing this area to enter. Are you guys following the Rubik's Cube building? Li Fan is slightly speechless. You've seen my figure. Phoenix King patted his belly. I am also too lazy to walk these few steps. Damn, this is too lazy. Li Fan is powerless to retort. He only glances at Phoenix King's bulging belly. Fine, no one would doubt him if he says he is pregnant for 10 months. If a man does not have a bit of magnanimity, how can he do great things? Phoenix King patted his belly while smoking his tobacco pipe. When you have a belly, you will naturally understand. It's better if I don't understand. Li Fan shook his head repeatedly. This big belly, what was the use of it? It was very inconvenient for him to fight. Men, when they reach a certain age, that's where their big bellies come from. The Phoenix King patted Li Fan's shoulder. I think highly of you. Fuck, this guy, he has a big belly, but he still wants others to have a big belly. He was really crazy. But no matter how crazy this person was, Li Fan had to accompany him first. For the safety of his two brothers, it was nothing for him to compromise a little. Light gradually appeared above their heads, and there was an earth-shattering noise. Li Fan blocked the blinding light and rose to the top. There was a large audience outside, surrounding a stage that wasn't very big. The stage was surrounded by barbed wire, and there were two strong men locked inside, fighting back and forth. Rather than a fight, it was more like a slaughter. This is the underground arena. Li Fan could see that this place was definitely a place for a fight. He and the Phoenix King rose to a VIP hall. High up, they looked down at the arena. The arena was not big. Other than the barbed wire, there were also deep pits all around, as if falling in would turn one into minced meat. The two strong men fought for a long time, neither giving in to the other, and their attacks were very ruthless. Li Fan watched from above for a long time, watching one of the men break the other's neck and throw it into the abyss. The surrounding audience roared excitedly, wave after wave, one louder than the other. Li Fan, this is an arena under my name. The Phoenix King introduced. Other than people who want to earn money, there are also some extremely vicious death row criminals in the world who compete here. Only by continuously fighting here will they be able to survive. And then there are no powerful contestants recently. You also saw that me, the audience, all like to watch bloody scenes. If it wasn't exciting enough, they wouldn't be willing to buy it. And then, Li Fan seemed to have guessed it. As the little tyrant, the audience must be looking forward to it. Li Fan, go down and help me fight 3 matches. As long as you win all 3 matches, I will tell you the whereabouts of your 2 brothers. Alright, it's a deal. Li Fan immediately agreed. Fighting was something he was good at. Furthermore, he did not need to use Murong Ying's baby. This was the best. It was good to owe one less favor to Murong Ying. Just 3 matches. I, the Phoenix King, will fulfill all your requests. I am a man of my word. The Phoenix King promised, as long as you can win and come back alive. All right, it's a deal. Li Fan became spirited. The 2 of them had agreed on a deal. Li Fan was led out of the VIP room. Seemingly because of the preparation, he was brought into a resting room. The Phoenix King was quite kind to him. He was the only one in the resting room, which was very comfortable. Furthermore, he was lying on the bed, and there were two beautiful masseuses giving Li Fan a massage. The big screen in front of him was still showing the battle between the two contestants. A beautiful attendant walked over from the side. She was pushing a dining cart with all kinds of exquisite dishes on it. "Mr. Li, do you want to eat anything before the match?" she asked. "No need." Li Fan did not have much appetite right now. He asked, "I have a friend waiting outside. Can you help me call her in?" "Are you talking about Miss Yin?" The beautiful attendant smiled. "The Phoenix King has already arranged for her to rest in another resting room. Because this is the contestants' resting room, unrelated people are not allowed to enter." "Oh, all right then. As long as she has a place to rest." Li Fan was worried that if Yin Tiantian waited for too long, she would be anxious. "Since Mr. Li does not want to eat, you can choose your clothes later." The beautiful attendant pointed at the big screen. A set of clothes appeared on it for Li Fan to choose from. Li Fan saw a bare-chested man wearing only a pair of loose pants on his lower body. However, that person's back was tattooed with a colorful tattoo. It was a malevolent divine dragon. "Can I choose this one?" Li Fan asked. "Of course." The beautiful attendant nodded her head. "What kind of tattoo does Mr. Li need? Our tattoo artist here is very professional and can help you make it on the spot. Is there one that can't be seen normally and will only appear during a battle?" Li Fan did not want to be too high profile on normal days, so he tried to ask. "Yes, what you need is a pigeon blood tattoo. We can do it." The beautiful attendant pulled out a bunch of tattoo styles from the screen. "Which one do you need? Before the match, we can help you to tattoo it for free." With a glance, Li Fan took a fancy to a tattoo style. On it was a strong man crouching over a tiger. Chapter 496. The tattooing process was long and painful, but Li Fan was able to endure it. In the end, he even fell asleep. When he was woken up, the tattooing on his back was already completed. Tyrant Xiong Yu, tiger subduing with one hand. His entire back and legs were covered with this beautiful tattoo. On Li Fan's shoulder, there was a tattoo of the word tyrant. This was very suitable for his title of tyrant. "How long have I been asleep?" Li Fan looked at the two mirrors and admired his tattoo. The tattoo was slowly fading, and soon, it disappeared from Li Fan's back. From the outside, it looked like Li Fan had never had a tattoo before. "About 10 hours. The beautiful attendant said, "Your match is about to begin." "Okay." Li Fan stood up and stretched his muscles and bones. He had to do what he had agreed with the Phoenix King. "Please enter the arena from here." The beautiful attendant led Li Fan into the passage and said, "I wish you good luck." "Thank you." Li Fan put on a scarlet cloak, walked out of the lounge through the passage, and went outside. The surrounding audience was filled with excited people. When they saw Li Fan, they did not seem to be very enthusiastic. After all, Li Fan was still a newcomer to them. In particular, Li Fan looked very young, just like a student, which made them lose interest. A man walked over from the opposite side. He was tall, and his muscles were as firm as rocks. He looked very shocking. A colorful tiger was tattooed on his chest. It was eager as if it was about to pounce out. "Our new friend's luck is not too good today." The host's voice echoed in the arena. "He met our tiger killer, Stephen. This is a famous genetic warrior. He has been injected with the angel gene and has extraordinary strength." "Angel gene? Is there any connection between this and the virus X that Sam asked me to transport?" From the sound of it, it sounded like something that could strengthen the human body. There is no doubt that humans have great potential. Hua Xia used martial arts to stimulate people's potential, cultivating both internal and external cultivation to break through the limits of human beings. Foreigners seemed to like using genetic engineering to improve human abilities. Needless to say, their method was somewhat successful. This guy was very strong. The muscles on his body emitted a bronze luster, which was very eye-catching. With such perfect muscles, It was impossible not to notice. "Brat, today you will die in the hands of a fierce tiger," the man shouted at Li Fan in broken Chinese. "Give it a try." Li Fan jumped into the cage-like arena from above, and the surrounding people booed at him. However, Li Fan's expression was very indifferent. When he first arrived on Su Chen's ship, he was also ridiculed like this. At that time, he was still very hot-blooded, but at this moment, Li Fan was much calmer. Because he knew that now was not the time to be hot-blooded. He had to quickly defeat the 3 opponents and find information about his 2 brothers. That was the most important thing. "Can you hear the cheers around you?" Stephen laughed. "It's all for me. And what belongs to you will only be ridicule. Cut the crap. Bring it on." Li Fan took off the cloak on his body, revealing a slender body that was not very fit. The muscles on his body were not exaggerated, nor were they protruding, but every part of his body was perfect. Under his well-balanced muscles, there was a terrifying power hidden. This was Li Fan, a martial artist. "Go to hell, brat." As Stephen spoke, a palm the size of a cattail Li Fan grabbed at Li Fan. However, Li Fan did not dodge. Instead, he leaned forward and grabbed Stephen's arm. Then, with a beautiful shoulder throw, Stephen's huge body was forcibly dragged to the arena floor. Bang! Stephen spat out a mouthful of bitter saliva. It was obvious that the fall was not light. How is this possible? Stephen was also thick-skinned. Although he was thrown, he quickly got up. He stood up again and looked at Li Fan condescendingly. This arena was different from Su Chen's ship. The area was very small, only less than 30 square meters. The space for 2 people to coexist was very small, which forced them to fight constantly. When Li Fan threw Stephen to the ground, it caused the surrounding audience to exclaim. They could not imagine that there was such a huge power hidden in this small man's body. "The floor must have been too slippery just now, and I accidentally slipped." Stephen muttered, "You little fly, I'm going to pinch you to death now." As he spoke, he reached out to grab Li Fan again. However, Li Fan used the same trick and once again smashed Stephen's huge body to the ground. The surrounding audience was stunned for a moment, then they began to whisper to each other. This kid who looked thin and weak didn't seem to be that weak. This strong and sturdy tiger killer was actually being played around by a small man. Although Li Fan was not considered short, compared to this tiger killer, Stephen, he was indeed a small man. "I want to win 3 rounds, so I'm sorry." As Li Fan spoke, he directly grabbed the strong Stephen and threw him out. Clang! Stephen's body smashed into the iron net next to him and he directly fainted. Not exciting enough, Phoenix King, Li Fan stood in the arena, stretched out a finger, and said loudly, "Give me something more exciting. Satisfy him." Phoenix King sat in his VIP room with a pipe in his mouth and said with a smile. Soon, a 3-meter-tall brown bear was sent into the arena. Li Fan blinked his eyes. "Damn, it really is a brown bear. Phoenix King, you're really ruthless." Li Fan really couldn't help but want to spit it out. However, looking at the brown bear in front of him that had been hungry for a day, Li Fan's desire to fight was aroused. Roar! The host's shout, the audience's noise, and the brown bear's roar mixed together, impacting Li Fan's eardrums. This brown bear completely stood up. It was already more than 3 meters, close to 4 meters. Such a big guy. Li Fan felt that it was a little too big. The brown bear swung its paw at Li Fan, bringing with it the whistling sound of the wind. Li Fan did not want to face the power of a brown bear head-on. However, Li Fan is Li Fan. He has the gene to not admit defeat. Li Fan roared, and his body began to swell. Bear. Mount. Army. Almost in an instant, Li Fan's body grew to 2 meters tall, his muscles bulged, and the overlord subduing the tiger painting appeared behind him. "Come, young master, I'll play with you." Chapter 497. How strong was the strength of a bear? They could easily tear apart a human's body, and the angry slap of the brown bear in front of him was enough to turn a person into minced meat. However, Li Fan also swung his palm. A black bear slapped the door, meeting the palm of the brown bear. Bang! The brown bear and Li Fan each took a step back, and a wave of energy blasted them away. Li Fan had defeated a huge King Kong in the past. Now, defeating a hungry brown bear was nothing. Li Fan and the brown bear clashed head-on and fought crazily. The surrounding audience was dumbfounded. This was a living person. At this moment, he was actually fighting with a huge brown bear. Li Fan did not use too much true energy. He only relied on his powerful physical strength to fight the brown bear. Li Fan needed to break through his external strength. He relied on the bear cavalry's martial arts to fight with the brown bear for a long time. Whether it was his palm or his beating, he could not seriously injure the brown bear. The other party's skin was rough and thick, so he did not care about his attacks at all. It was like two wild bears fighting. In the end, both of them would be injured. Wait, Li Fan felt like he understood something. The two bears were fighting, but he was a human. 7 Heroes Fist. What was the limit of the 7 Heroes Fist? The limit of the 7 Heroes Fist was that he had always limited his thoughts to animals. Beyond the thoughts of animals, he had to comprehend the abilities of human. Imitation only made him become like an animal. As for humans had a way to defeat animals. Overlord subduing the tiger, that was the feeling. Transcend the 7 Heroes Fist and become a true emperor among men. The brown bear had already pounced in front of Li Fan, as if it wanted to tear Li Fan to pieces. Li Fan grabbed the brown bear's head with one hand, lifted it up, and pulled it behind him. Li Fan's arm suddenly swelled and was about 3 times thicker than usual. The brown bear seemed to have sensed some kind of danger. It wanted to roar and roar, but its face was pinched tightly as if it was clamped by iron pincers. It couldn't make any sound. 7 Brilliance Fists. Li Fan's eyes lit up. Subdue times bear. Li Fan's arm grabbed the brown bear and slammed it onto the floor in front of him. Boom! A huge pit was smashed on the floor, and brown bear's body was embedded in it. He had already fainted. Not exciting enough. Li Fan's blood was boiling, and the overlord subduing the tiger painting behind him was getting clearer and clearer. Good, very good. The Phoenix King nodded in satisfaction. Send the third opponent to him. Boom. The arena's floor began its own renovation and was soon replaced with a new layer. Another man was sent in, but this man looked very familiar to Li Fan. He was wearing a silver-white armor with the Storm logo on it. Not bad, we meet again. Warhammer moved his armor a bit and then looked at Li Fan with a smile. I really didn't expect to meet in this place. I thought it would be a more romantic place. Li Fan suddenly didn't know what to say. He actually met his mortal enemy in the Yellow Springs. It was really unexpected. It seems that your strength has improved again. But it's also good. My armor has received some new training. Warhammer was a chatterbox. Li Fan had already seen it. All right. I know you like to talk. Li Fan was a bit fed up with this Warhammer. If you want to fight, hurry up and fight. I still have other things to deal with. It's not easy to reunite. Don't you want to chat more? Warhammer took out a small syringe filled with some kind of silver liquid. This thing is called Angel. It is a kind of genetic medicine that is currently circulating in the black market. He said to Li Fan. These are just some defective products. High-level Angel is said to be able to awaken the true genetic potential of humans. You rely on these to strengthen yourself. Li Fan couldn't help but laugh. If you have the ability, then take off your clothes and fight. I don't have your ability. Warhammer shrugged. My armor is my protection. You've seen Iron Man, right? When did Iron Man ever fight with his shirt off? Come on, that's how Iron Man fights. Only the Hulk fights with his bare arms. Are you done? Li Fan asked while digging his ears. My ears have grown calluses. I like to drink a glass of whiskey before fighting. Warhammer looked at the surrounding iron mesh cage. It seems that I can't drink here for the time being. What a pity. If you don't want to fight, you can admit defeat. Of course, I want to fight. Warhammer said hurriedly, I'm here to make some extra money. Oh, by the way, Some bosses bet a lot of money on me. Why don't you just admit defeat and I'll ask them to give you a sum of money too? Then I'm sorry. Li Fan clenched his fists. What I need now is not money. You made the wrong choice. Warhammer sighed. It seems that I can only take your life in advance. With that, his helmet covered his cheeks. Then, his body suddenly sprang forward. A chainsaw popped out from his wrist and stabbed toward Li Fan. The Warhammer's speed was extremely fast, almost as if it was a jet. Li Fan stood there, unmoved. At this time, Warhammer was like a tiger pouncing on its prey. Li Fan remembered Luo Xiaofeng's words. Everyone has a weakness. All things are like this. The moment Warhammer launched his attack, he revealed his weakness. Li Fan was not in a hurry to attack. He was not precise enough. Thus, he chose to dodge. Zilolo. Warhammer's chainsaw cut through the barbed wire beside him, creating a large hole in the barbed wire. Little friend, do you want to play hide and seek? Warhammer laughed and fired 2 arrows at the barbed wire. These arrows seemed to have electrodes, directly connecting the iron mesh to some kind of high-voltage electricity. The cage is very small. It seems that it is not suitable for hide and seek. Warhammer smiled and then pounced toward Li Fan. The chainsaw aimed at Li Fan's head. However, Li Fan did not move. He waited for Warhammer to arrive in front of him. 7 Brilliance Fists. Beating Tiger. The moment his opponent's attack fell on him, Li Fan slightly lowered his body and used the fastest method to punch. Li Fan's fist landed on Warhammer's defenseless body. Bang! Warhammer's body flew out and slammed into the electrified iron mesh behind him. The electric shock caused him to scream and he fell down. If Warhammer did not bounce back to the ring in time, he would have been electrocuted into charcoal. Li Fan shrugged his shoulders. You are right. This place is very small. Chapter 498. Warhammer readjusted his state and the armor on his body spurted out some energy. Then, he slowly stood up and re-examined Li Fan in front of him. Mysterious Eastern Kung Fu, Warhammer looked at Li Fan and analyzed Li Fan's battle power on the display screen. However, Li Fan's battle power was only 50. This was the battle power that a normal person should have after training their body. His battle power was 350, and the armor and the angel greatly enhanced his ability. How could Li Fan only have 50 battle power? That ancient Chinese true qi did not seem to be within the system's analysis data. This kind of battle analysis thing was really unreliable. Warhammer readjusted his state and then stretched out his right hand. An air cannon burst out from the palm of his hand. This was his only means of weapon attack. Before entering the stage, because firearms were not allowed, the weapon system on his body had been temporarily removed. However, even this air cannon's power was very amazing. Li Fan sensed danger. The moment the air began to distort, he pulled away and circled behind Warhammer with a black afterimage. Bang! Warhammer's air cannon tore apart a large piece of barbed wire behind him. Warhammer quickly turned around and aimed the air cannon at Li Fan, who was in front of him. Bang! Warhammer's firing speed was very fast and he almost did not need any reserves. The system on his wrist could quickly compress air and then form an artillery shell. Li Fan's body was torn apart by this air cannon. Warhammer was overjoyed but soon felt that something was wrong, because Li Fan's hand was already on his waist from behind. 7 Brilliance Fists. Playtime's ape. Li Fan used his unique footwork to create a realistic afterimage in front of Warhammer. The moment Warhammer thought that he had crushed Li Fan had already made a move behind him. Wild Bear Embracing Tree. Li Fan hugged Warhammer's body by the waist. At the same time, he leaned back and performed a beautiful back throw, smashing Warhammer's body into the ground. Before Warhammer could react, Li Fan had already turned around and lifted Warhammer's steel body into the air. Bear King raises the cauldron. Li Fan bent his knees, raised his warhammer and jumped up. Then, he pressed down on the body of the warhammer with both hands. With the force of his fall, he smashed him into the ground once again. Bang! Another large crater was formed in the ground, and Warhammer was seeing stars. He felt his vision darken, and his whole body was in pain. The system's voice echoed in his ears. Damage level, 60%. Thrusters lost contact. In just 2 moves, more than half of his armor had been destroyed. Warhammer was dumbfounded. How was he supposed to play? They weren't even on the same level. If he wanted to deal with Li Fan, he could only get a stronger armor or use a higher-grade angel potion. Most importantly, this place wasn't suitable for hunting. In such a narrow space, it was as if he was the prey. I surrender. Warhammer directly announced his surrender. According to the rules of the arena, the one who announced his surrender would receive unconditional protection, and the other contestant was not allowed to attack. Li Fan, the next time we meet, I will hunt you down. Warhammer dragged his damaged armor and walked out of the cage. Before leaving, he didn't forget to leave some harsh words for Li Fan. Before I hunt you, don't get caught by others. Wait. Li Fan still had a big doubt in his heart. Who is the spy you guys sent to my side? Haha, who knows? Warhammer laughed. You have never been safe. With that, Warhammer turned around and left the arena, leaving Li Fan alone to ponder. This damned storm mercenaries, they are really patient. Who is the spy hiding beside me? These matters gave Li Fan a headache, but now that the 3 matches were over and he fulfilled his promise, the rest was up to Phoenix King. Li Fan returned to his original size, and the Overlord subduing tiger painting on his back slowly disappeared. But when he left, the audience was cheering excitedly, chanting his name in unison. After 3 matches, Li Fan had left his name here. You fought really well. Phoenix King sat in front of his desk and looked at Li Fan with a smile. If you are interested in the future, you can come here to fight a few more matches. My arena's door will always be open for you. I am not interested, you just need to give me the information. Li Fan didn't want to come to this place to fight, he had more important things to do. I have fulfilled my promise, now it's your turn, Phoenix King. Don't worry, Phoenix King will grant your request. The Phoenix King laughed. Since we've agreed on it, I'll naturally do it. With that, he clapped his hands, and a map appeared on the big screen behind him. Speaking of your 2 brothers, there is actually nothing wrong. They are currently on the Luoma Ancient Road, staying in a small inn called Entai. Why are they staying there? Li Fan was surprised. This is another piece of information. If you want to know, I will have to pay extra. Damn, you unscrupulous merchant. All merchants are unscrupulous. Phoenix King didn't deny it. You fought well today, I am very satisfied, and you have earned quite a bit of money. In the future, the gates of Yellow Springs will always be open for you. Li Fan felt that he couldn't be happy. This is for you. Phoenix King passed a jade pendant with a phoenix imprinted on it to Li Fan. What is this? This is my keepsake, and also the pass to Yellow Springs. Phoenix King seemed to have a good impression of Li Fan. In the future, if you want to enter Yellow Springs, use this. Our agreement ends here. Go and see your friend. Phoenix King sent the map to Li Fan's phone, and then chased Li Fan out of his office. Chapter 499. Li Fan and Yin Tiantian were rushing to the Peace Inn on the Luoma Ancient Road. Meanwhile, Guan Wenbao and Yang Kai were sulking in the inn. Old Guan sat in front of the table, wiping his crescent blade over and over again. Are you done yet? Yang Kai finally couldn't hold it in any longer and exploded. You've already scraped 8 pieces of cloth off this knife. Sharpening the blade won't delay the work of cutting firewood. Old Guan was calm. This blade is my second life. I should take good care of it. Take care of my ass. Guan Wenbao snapped. We've lost our darts. What's the point of taking care of a broken blade? The Sima family doesn't lack money. Guan Wenbao calmly analyzed the situation. This is Quan Jin's carp leaping over the dragon gate. Even if they wanted to go, it wouldn't be of much use. I'm afraid that the Sima family wants our heads. The Sima family is powerful. Yang Kai looked out of the window. There were many people walking to and fro on the street. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. The incident happened a long time ago, yet they've blocked all information. This is not a good thing for the Sima family. Guan Wenbao looked up and saw a figure on the opposite building. That person seemed to be glancing at him. The Sima family won't let this go if we don't take our darts. I really can't explain to Li Fan now. Yang Kai was vexed. If we can't get our darts back, how can we face Li Fan? Let's get through tonight first. Guan Wenbao polished his crescent blade. They'll definitely come tonight. Ha! They've come 7 or 8 times this month. Yang Kai couldn't help but sneer. Every time they come, we'll do it. This time, there should be some experts. Guan Wenbao guessed. The Sima family can't wait any longer. This time, we'll catch someone and ask him where he took our darts. Yang Kai was determined. If he couldn't get his darts back, he wouldn't be able to explain to Li Fan. He was even more ashamed to see Li Fan. Well, it's almost dark. Shouldn't you go back to your room to sleep? Guan Wenbao placed his crescent moon blade to the side and glared at Yang Kai. Ah, I'll sleep with you. What a joke. Guan Wenbao almost exploded. We don't have much money left. How can we afford 2 rooms? Yang Kai explained in a serious manner, but Guan Wenbao felt that it was particularly awkward. No, I'd rather sleep in the stable. Cold sweat broke out on Guan Wenbao's back. Rather than sleeping in the same room with Yang Kai, he might as well stab him. Even the circle of tombs was more peaceful than sleeping by Yang Kai's side. You're hurting our brotherhood. Yang Kai was silent for a moment, then said. Sleeping by your side doesn't hurt my feelings, but it hurts my chrysanthemum. Guan Wenbao picked up his crescent blade and was about to walk out the door. But at this moment, the lights in the inn suddenly went out. It was already night time, and now it was pitch black. Only the moonlight shone in from the window. Look, the lights are out. Let's rest early. Yang Kai smiled, and Guan Wenbao kicked him. Idiot, they're here. The sound of footsteps came from the surroundings. It was very light, but it still reached their ears. Guan Wenbao picked up his crescent blade, and Yang Kai also pulled out the sword at his waist. The 2 of them stood back to back, waiting for the enemy to come. Soon, arrows suddenly shot in from the window, shooting at the 2 of them. Dang, dang, dang. Guan Wenbao waved the crescent blade in his hand and flicked the arrows away. A few black-clothed men broke in from the door, holding long blades in their hands, and slashed at the 2 of them. You're disturbing our world. Yang Kai let go of the sword in his hand and threw it away. But the sword carried the power of yin and yang. It actually sucked the long blades in the hands of the black-clothed men and stuck them on the sword. With this move, everyone's weapons were removed, except for Guan Wenbao's. The black-clothed men did not hesitate and attacked Yang Kai with their bare hands. But what Yang Kai was best at was 1 against many. His Tai Chi power could be used to its greatest effect at this time. When the black-clothed men's fists and kicks landed on Yang Kai's body, he transferred the power of these people to their companions. The more people hit Yang Kai, the braver he became. The 2 of them cooperated and knocked down all the black-clothed men. No matter how many black-clothed men there were, they were unable to hurt the 2 of them. A bunch of trash. A man walked in from outside the door. This man was called Sima Tian, a member of the Sima family. His martial arts were not bad, and he was extremely ambitious. He wanted to take down Guan Wenbao and Yang Kai and report back to his family. These 2 people were the capital for him to make a contribution in the Sima family. Sima Tian looked at the 2 people in front of him and only treated them as his bounty. It's been so many days and you can't even deal with 2 trash. You even want me to personally take action. As Sima Tian spoke, he pulled out a short sword from his back. The Sima family was unique. They were good at using a short sword. Together with their unique monarch palm technique and 9 swords of bliss, they were truly powerful. Be careful, this person is an expert. Guan Wenbao reminded Yang Kai. Don't worry, it's just people from the Sima family. This Dao doesn't put them in my eyes. As Yang Kai spoke, he pointed at Sima Tian. What are you hesitating for? Come and play. Courting death. How arrogant was Sima Tian? How could he sit and wait for Yang Kai's ridicule? This person leaped and his entire body was like a shadow in the night. In an instant, he crossed a distance and appeared in front of Yang Kai. At the same time, the short sword pierced towards Yang Kai's neck. No matter how profound Yang Kai's Taiji art was, if his neck was stabbed, he would still die obediently. However, a crescent moon blade came from behind and collided with Sima Tian's short blade, causing Sima Tian's short blade to be deflected. At the same time, Yang Kai's palm had already landed on Sima Tian's lower abdomen, sending Sima Tian flying. Sima Tian's body slid a distance in the air and slowly landed on the ground. "You have some ability," Sima Tian said. However, the game ends here. He was very confident. He was a member of the Sima family. Wouldn't dealing with two juniors of the pugilistic world be a piece of cake? Sima Tian gripped the short sword tightly and entered a battle stance. Once again, he shot towards the two of them. These two people would definitely die under his sword today. Sima Tian's 9 swords of bliss was as fast as a shadow, heading straight for the space between Yang Kai's eyebrows. In the blink of an eye, Sima Tian had already arrived in front of Yang Kai. Guan Wenbao chased after him with his blade but was sent flying by Sima Tian's monarch palm. As for the short sword, Yang Kai placed his palm on the sword and pulled it to the side, causing Sima Tian's short sword to stab into the wall at the side. Total annihilation. Guan Wenbao's crescent moon blade had already swept over. Chapter 500. Sima Tian turned pale with fright. His waist twisted extremely, wanting to dodge this saber. But what kind of person was Guan Wenbao? How could his saber be so easy to dodge? Although Sima Tian's movement technique was not bad, his waist was still grazed by this saber. Fart! Dark red blood burst out from Sima Tian's waist. He cried out miserably, clutching his waist, and looked at Guan Wenbao and Yang Kai opposite him with uncontrollable rage. "You, the two of you actually dare to injure me. My skills are inferior, so what if I injure you?" Guan Wenbao curled his lips, clearly very disdainful towards this Sima Tian. Guan Wenbao had always worshipped the strong, like Li Fan. But for people like Sima Tian who only relied on their wealth and glib tongues, Guan Wenbao did not fancy them at all. "What are you guys still standing there for? Hurry up and attack!" Sima Tian let out a scream. His waist was in severe pain, and his anger made him burn. He wholeheartedly wanted to kill these two people, lift their heads, and settle the fire in his heart. Bring it on. When Guan Wenbao wielded the crescent moon blade in his hand, he was like a man holding the pass. 10,000 could not get through. Even if it was a group of black-clothed men in front of him, he was not the slightest bit afraid. This Sima family's brat is so noisy. This grandpa will help you capture him. As he spoke, Yang Kai leaped forward and pounced towards Sima Tian. "Stop him." Sima Tian let out a scream, and the surrounding black-clothed men immediately came forward, attempting to stop Yang Kai. Yang Kai did not care about them, and he pounced straight towards Sima Tian. While Guan Wenbao wielded the crescent moon blade and escorted Yang Kai, slapping the surrounding black-clothed men away. Although Yang Kai and Guan Wenbao's personalities were incompatible, when they worked together, there were no flaws. In practically a few moves, the black-clothed men were all swept away, and Yang Kai also grabbed Sima Tian's head. Sima Tian endured the pain and pulled out his short sword, wanting to counterattack, but Yang Kai used the power of Taiji and snatched the short sword away instead. "With your skills, you don't need to use a dagger." Yang Kai mocked. "It's an insult to your family's 9 swords of bliss." "How dare you?" Sima Tian roared. "What do you dare to do to me? I'm a member of the Sima family." Sima Tian still relied on his identity and roared at Yang Kai and the rest. "That's great." Yang Kai grinned. "We can use your dog life to exchange for our things." With that, Yang Kai kicked the unconscious man in black next to him to wake him up. "Go back and tell your patriarch that if he wants Sima Tian's life, he has to return our Fafen escort agency's escort within 3 days. Otherwise, let people come over and collect Sima Tian's corpse." After detaining Sima Tian, Yang Kai sent these black-clothed men away. "You idiots." Sima Tian was tied up and thrown to one side. Guan Wenbao personally looked after him. Sima Tian was still very arrogant. He sat there and said loudly, "You guys don't even know how big of a mistake you have made. You rascal, you're really annoying." Yang Kai curled his lips and kicked Sima Tian. "If you continue to bullshit, this grandpa will explode your head. Idiot. Don't you know how terrifying the Sima family is?" Sima Tian still wanted to say something, but Guan Wenbao swung his hand and used the crescent blade to slap his mouth. Sima Tian was stunned. His face was red and swollen, and he was unable to speak for a long time. "It's quite annoying." "Shut up." Guan Wenbao muffled out a sentence, and Sima Tian finally stopped speaking. He was probably afraid of pain. Yang Kai wanted to laugh. This Sima Tian, he really had no choice but to hit him. If he knew that he would be more obedient like this, he would have given him a slap earlier. After resting for a while, Guan Wenbao and Yang Kai were a little hungry. As the saying goes, a man is made of iron and rice is made of steel. If they don't eat, they will be starving. Especially for the two martial warriors, they also needed a lot of energy. The two of them asked the inn's kitchen to make some food and sent it over. "I want to eat too." Sima Tian looked at the two of them eating heartily and finally could not hold it in anymore. His stomach started to growl. "You guys can't mistreat a captive." "You're right." Guan Wenbao nodded, then picked up a steamed bun. "Go and send it over to him." "Why should I send it?" "Your legs lack training." Guan Wenbao said, "It's a good opportunity to exercise." "Damn, this grandpa's legs are agile." Yang Kai was very unhappy. "It's far from it." The tip of Guan Wenbao's blade rested on Yang Kai's neck. "Maybe it's a little slow." Yang Kai picked up the steamed bun and stuffed it into Sima Tian's hands. "Eat it." "Is this for humans to eat?" Sima Tian was a little agitated. "This thing is used to feed pigs at our place." Guan Wenbao, who was eating the steamed bun, paused for a moment. Yang Kai kicked Sima Tian angrily. "Fuck you, do you want to eat it or not? If you don't eat it, scram." Yang Kai was too lazy to even give the steamed bun to Sima Tian. He took the steamed bun back and stuffed it into his mouth. "Giving it to someone like you to eat is better than feeding it to pigs." Yang Kai ate a few mouthfuls and suddenly felt as if he had scolded himself. Fuck. Yang Kai could not help but want to curse. He swallowed the steamed bun back into his stomach and turned back to the table. After the two of them ate a few mouthfuls, Guan Wenbao suddenly raised his crescent blade again. "Fuck, can't I just eat properly?" Yang Kai couldn't control his anger. "Did I offend you by eating a meal? Hurry up and put down your blade." "I can't put it down." Guan Wenbao said, "The guests are all here." Yang Kai immediately walked to the window, pushed it open with his hand, and looked outside. There were no tourists in the vicinity. Standing downstairs were all swordsmen wrapped in black clothes. These were all the guards of the Sima clan. Each and every one of them was glaring like a tiger watching its prey. None of them were easy to deal with. The butler of the Sima clan, Yang San, was also standing there. This fellow also had a malicious look on his face. Standing beside him was a face that Yang Kai was not very familiar with. But looking at Yang San's respectful manner towards him, he should be a member of the Sima clan. That person was wearing a gorgeous brocade, and with a glance, one could tell that it was worth a lot. Moreover, his temperament was also extraordinary. Especially this person's ancient attire. He was clearly a modern man, but he had his hair tied up in a bun and even had a black jade hairpin on it. "Black jade hairpin," Yang Kai said. "Ha ha ha, my sixth uncle is here." Sima Tian laughed loudly. "My sixth uncle is here, you guys are dead for sure." King of Hell, Sima Fang, wears a black jade hairpin on his head. Guan Wenbao recited a ballad. This ballad was very popular in the pugilistic world. "Ha ha ha, my sixth uncle's methods are very powerful. At that time, each of us will send the two of you on your way. It's good for the two of you to have a companion on the road to hell. At least you won't be lonely." Scram. Yang Kai kicked him to the ground. Chapter 501. The King of Hell, Sima Fang, Wears a black jade hairpin on his head. This was the sentence that Sima Fang left behind in the Jianghu. His name could be used to stop a child's crying at night. At this moment, the only reason why Sima Fang appeared in this inn was because his nephew was captured. Sima Tian, that idiot. His martial arts were not much, but his ambition was not small. Although Guan Wenbao and Yang Kai were not considered true experts, they were still rising stars in the Jianghu. If Sima Tian wanted to fight against the two of them alone, he was still far from it. If he was so careless, how could he be worthy of being a member of the Sima clan? However, the Sima clan was different from Murong clan. The Sima clan was a united clan. Even if it was a disappointing fellow, he was still a member of the Sima clan and had to be kept alive. The dignity of the Sima clan could not be tarnished. Sima Fang stood downstairs and looked at this inn that could not be considered very big. Every inn on the ancient camel path was equipped with a stable. At this moment, there was only a red horse in the stable. This horse was not ordinary and should belong to that Guan Wenbao. It seemed to feel a trace of uneasiness and kept pacing back and forth in the stable. It was a very intelligent beast because it knew that its master was about to die. "Is Sima Tian inside?" he asked Yang San, the most loyal dog of the Sima clan. "Yes, my lord." Yang San hurriedly said, "I have not seen young master Sima Tian go out." "Very good." Sima Fang nodded, "I have been here for so long and they still haven't let him go. It seems like they do not intend to let him go." As he spoke, he directly slammed his palm towards the inn above him. Bang! A large piece of the window of the inn was shattered while Guan Wenbao and Yang Kai stood there. One of them was holding a crescent moon blade while the other was holding a great treasure sword. "Where is my nephew?" Sima Fang went straight to the point and asked. "He is staying here as a guest and seems to be quite happy." Yang Kai smiled at Sima Fang. "He is enjoying himself so much that he forgot to go home. I reckon that he will not want to go home for a while. This is not up to you or him." Sima Fang said coldly, "If you let him go now, I can still let you die a quick death." "Sima Fang, I know you are powerful." Yang Kai said, "But as members of the escort agency, we take people's money and escort goods for them. I can return Sima Tian to you, but you have to return the item." "Hehe, you seem to have mistaken something." Sima Fang sneered, "Sima Fang Fang." As he spoke, Sima Fang extended his hand and slapped out with another monarch palm. Yang Kai and Guan Wenbao dodged at the same time. The wall behind them was penetrated by a huge palm print. "Old Guan, go." Yang Kai and Guan Wenbao descended from the sky at the same time, one on the left and one on the right, pouncing towards Sima Fang. The crescent moon saber in Guan Wenbao's hand brought with it a blazing flame, while Yang Kai's longsword contained the power of a black hole. Sima Fang attacked at the same time, trying to suppress Sima Fang. However, Sima Fang did not place them in his eyes at all. He chuckled and with a single palm strike, he repelled the two of them. "You two are good, but you are no match for my monarch palm." Sima Fang was a famous master in Jianghu. He even had a ballad. His level was about the same as the commander of the embroidered uniform guard. Guan Wenbao and Yang Kai were good, but compared to Sima Fang, a senior master, they were still lacking. The two of them were pushed back and landed on the ground, barely managing to stabilize themselves. "Old Guan, the two of us are going to die together today." "Scram. Who wants to die together with you?" Guan Wenbao was unhappy. "I still have to keep my life and work for my benefactor." "Fuck, I don't want to die either, but I'm afraid I can't escape today." "Are you afraid of death?" "No matter what, I have to leave some injuries for him." Guan Wenbao clenched his fang and stared at Sima Fang, as if he was looking for a flaw. "The two of you should lie down." Sima Fang's body appeared beside the two of them without them knowing. He was holding a short sword in his hand, which was stained with blood. Guan Wenbao and Yang Kai's calves had been cut, but they did not see how Sima Fang attacked. 9 swords of bliss, 9 swords of life. Sima Fang chuckled, "The two of you still have 8 swords. Enjoy it." After killing the two of them, he would save Sima Tian. As Sima Fang spoke, his figure flashed. Bloody wounds appeared on Guan Wenbao and Yang Kai's bodies again. This time, Sima Fang's sword stabbed into their abdomens. Luckily, the two of them had good physiques and used their muscles to lock their blood vessels. But if this went on, they would only be waiting for death. The 9 swords of bliss never needed the 10th sword to kill. Furthermore, their true chi protection did not have any defensive effect at all and was easily pierced by Sima Fang. Create an opportunity for me. This Dao grandpa is going to cut him down. Yang Kai was furious. He held his sword and wanted to stab into Sima Fang's head, but Sima Fang's martial arts were amazing. He could not get close at all. Guan Wenbao also used the Guan family's saber technique to its fullest, as if he wanted to open a path for Yang Kai. However, Sima Fang only held a short sword and easily flicked away Guan Wenbao's crescent blade. The two of you are too weak. Truly too weak. As Sima Fang spoke, he had already slashed 8 times on Guan Wenbao and Yang Kai's bodies. One more slash and the two's bloodline system would completely collapse. The two of them would die. Just as Sima Fang was about to unleash the last sword, he suddenly took a step back. There were 2 flying daggers nailed to the ground in front of him. Red tassel flying dagger. Looking at the 2 flying daggers, Sima Fang seemed to recall something. The one using these flying daggers seemed to be someone from the Yin family. Sima Fang suddenly felt a threat descending from the sky. He raised his head and saw a man descend from the sky, slapping him with his palm, courting death. Sima Fang possessed the monarch palm, so how could he be afraid of other people's palm techniques? However, he did not expect that the moment their palms collided, he was actually forced to take a step back and squat on the ground. Sima Fang's chest tightened. He was extremely shocked in his heart. Who is this? Sima Fang widened his eyes, and a youth was standing in front of him. This youth raised a palm and glared at him. If you want to kill my brothers, you have to get past me first. Benefactor. Holy shit, Li Fan. Guan Wenbao and Yang Kai almost cried when they saw this youth. The hell, his appearance was too timely. You are Li Fan? Sima Fang looked at the youth in front of him. Little tyrant Li Fan. Isn't he a little too young? I am your grandfather. As Li Fan spoke, he slapped Sima Fang's head. Chapter 502. Sima Fang knew the power of Li Fan's palm, and he would definitely not take it head-on, but he was an expert who had been famous for many years. If he were to be defeated by a junior, where would he put his face? Sima Fang's feet stepped on the ground as if they had grown root. He raised his palm and collided with Li Fan's palm once again. Ursa Major Seal. Li Fan's palm brought with it a huge force as it clashed with Sima Fang's palm. Bang! The huge impact spread out in all directions, sending the surrounding black-clothed men flying. Especially Yang San, this fellow was sent tumbling a few rounds before he fell to the ground. The 2 palms touched each other, and their strength continued to clash. Both of them gathered the true chi in their bodies, and both of them were competing with their inner chi, competing with their own true strength. Li Fan's inner chi was robust, but Sima Fang's strength was definitely not weak either. The two of them seemed to be on the same level in terms of inner chi, and their inner chi was not giving way to each other. The one who was anxious was Sima Fang. He was a senior of the pugilistic world, and he was on the same level as a junior. Where would he put his face? Sima Fang was furious. He activated his dantian and squeezed out his true chi bit by bit, sending it into his palm. But no matter what method he used, or how much true chi he sent over, Li Fan was like a thick wall that he could not move. Bang! The true chi of the two finally reached a peak, and suddenly exploded, knocking the two of them away. The two of them each took 3 steps back. Sima Fang's face was slightly pale, but Li Fan's expression was as usual. Hades King Sima Fang is only SOSO. Li Fan laughed. With a wave of his hand, 2 streams of true chi flew out and hit the bodies of his 2 brothers, stopping their bleeding. Just a brat, but his tone is really big. After saying this, Sima Fang took out his dagger again. 9 swords of extreme bliss. Sima Fang's 9 swords of extreme bliss seemed to be invisible. Before Li Fan could react, a wound had already appeared on his shoulder. Li Fan took a step back and looked at the sword wound on his shoulder. He was very surprised. Even if it was a fast sword, it was impossible for it to escape his sight. What ability did Li Fan have? Bullet time. Any move that was a threat to him would be slowed down in front of him. However, Sima Fang's 9 swords of bliss actually surpassed his bullet time. He didn't see it at all. He didn't sense it at all. 9 blissful swords. That was the first sword. Sima Fang waved the dagger in his hand. You'll have to slowly enjoy the next 8 moves. Bring it on. Li Fan spread his legs apart and stood there, waiting to see the remaining 8 sword. The 9 swords of extreme bliss would cause death when it was in extreme bliss. Do you know the true power of the 9 swords of bliss? You'll know soon enough. As soon as Sima Fang finished speaking, another sword wound appeared on Li Fan's abdomen. Fresh blood gushed out, but Li Fan didn't feel any pain. Instead, he felt a sense of pleasure. This feeling is really weird. Li Fan wondered if he was sick. This was too fucked up. 9 swords of extreme bliss. Could this be the meaning of it? Each sword was faster than the previous one, and each sword was more powerful than the previous one. Every time the sword landed on his body, Li Fan would only feel incomparable happiness, as if he was begging for another sword. Soon, Li Fan's body was stabbed 5 times. Li Fan couldn't see the sword. Secondly, he felt really good. What the fuck? Li Fan knew that he had really underestimated Sima Fang. There was a reason why he could become a famous figure in the martial arts world. Li Fan looked at the 5 sword wounds on his body and laughed bitterly. How is it? You've already felt that endless pleasure, right? Sima Fang pointed the short sword at Li Fan. For more swords and you can ascend to bliss. Li Fan's body trembled slightly. Beg me. Sima Fang laughed and said, beg me and I'll continue to make you happy. Although these words sounded awkward, at this moment, in Li Fan's ears, it was like celestial music. Li Fan restrained his impulse. This sword of extreme bliss seemed to have activated a special acupoint in his body, allowing him to feel endless pleasure while he was bleeding. This move was indeed powerful. He could even turn the tables and beg Su Zimo to be stabbed. Sima Fang was very confident that no one could resist his 9 swords of extreme bliss. No one could resist the temptation of his 9 swords of extreme bliss. Beg me, he said to Li Fan again. Li Fan stood there with his arms crossed in front of him. The true qi in his body rumbled and flowed through every acupoint in his body. Li Fan wanted to find which acupoints were pierced by the 9 swords of extreme bliss. Li Fan's true qi flowed through his body and finally felt an abnormality in a few acupoints. Looking at it alone, there was nothing wrong with a few acupoints. If he only stimulated these acupoints, there wouldn't be any abnormalities. But if he connected them, it seemed to have some kind of power that stimulated human desire. Li Fan didn't say anything, which made Sima Fang a bit surprised. It was already the 5th sword and he was still able to withstand it. No matter, he wanted to try and see how many swords this kid could withstand. Puff, puff, puff. Li Fan's body was stabbed 3 times in a row. It was already the 8th sword. After the 8th sword, Li Fan felt that his rationality was collapsing. He really wanted Sima Fang to stab out the 9th sword. This 9th sword would be used to end his life, but he still desired it. But Li Fan needed to know what the 9th sword would be like and which acupoint in his body would be stimulated. It wasn't just about lust. Li Fan was deeply curious.